and welcome to episode 47 of Zapped to the Past. My name is Adrian Mills, and I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Graham Raddings. If you have not listened before, good lord, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. We are using the magazine Zapped 64 as a monthly guide for the games to focus on, but we are in no way affiliated with Zapped 64 itself. This week, we're going to be looking at March 1987 and the first batch of games reviewed in issue 23 of Zapped 64, along with what was also going on in UK music that month. So Graham, tell us what this episode has in store.
In this town market full of fruit and veg sellers, vaping stores, oddly branded apparel traders, and unbranded self-scoop cereal shop of an episode, we breathe deeply and embrace our inner pacifist before grabbing a warship and going on a biokill frenzy in the somnifacient Mutants. Go to the space war battlefront while carefully watching the military spend in the accounting-heavy Star Soldier and grab our jelly baby-like space armor, bravely step on board the SS Oddly Familiar and go on another monotonous find-the-stuff rescue mission in the overly rounded Future Night. We also take on the management responsibility of a football team that has experienced incredible time dilation in the years for minutes nonsense of the double, invest heavily but pointlessly in the latest 60-page novella gold leaf wrapped micro turd from Rainboard in the overbrown tracker, and deftly descend into a mine to find the hidden gold in a cavern with a metal detector to make a handle to crank the wheel to do something with the weird pneumatic hammers. If that punnet of strawberries, pack of unbranded LED light bulbs and bag of cola cubes hasn't satiated your appetite for random purchases, and you've suddenly remembered you need a new shower curtain, we also sit in the cockpit of our blocky raider craft shouting death towards amphibians before once again scrolling laboriously around a 360 landscape in a quest for gameplay with Raid 2000. Break out the heavy detailed helicopter flight instruction manual, punch in some key codes, and pray we know our airfoils from our arseholes in the precise but doddery Tomahawk before finally stepping in our 3-year restricted DeLorean time machine, travelling back to 1984, grabbing the first shoot-'em-up we see, and returning to 1987 so we can play the same thing, but cheaper, in the dubious Falcon Patrol 2. It's certainly an odd bunch of games this month. I've not seen this much variety of quality since Keith Harrison Orville did the Royal Variety Performance alongside Hans Moretti and the cast of Fame. It didn't end well for Orville. He never laid another egg.
Well, yes, that's probably true. Probably is. Yes.
Definitely is.
It definitely is. Yes, it's probably true. Whatever you just said is probably true. I'm just going to agree with
That's
it.
an open invite.
Well, yeah, but you know, I'm a modern man.
I'm progressive. I can cope.
Yeah, I'm all right. It doesn't matter. It doesn't bother me. Right. So we've got games. There are. Yeah. So this is another. Just to as a heads up, it's another 3-part a month.
Triple Thrash Street.
So it is. Yeah. do, 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 do.
I'm not doing it. I'm point blank refusing to do it.
You have to now.
Triple treat. Triple treat.
You have to. It's written. It's been
rules.
carved in stone.
It is.
So yeah. So there's not quite as many games as there were in February, but there's still 28, 29. Which is still quite a chunk. So we've split it across 3 just to give ourselves some breathing room and space. And so we're not doing 3-hour episodes again because it's been a bit crazy, been a bit mad. We had no choice last time, but now we have choice. And choice is our friend. So we are using that choice and not doing as many. So on that note, let's crack into our first game. And Graham, you're going to tell us all about it. At least I hope you are, because that game is Mutants.
Mutants, yeah. Everyone remembers the Fred Gray music to Mutants. Easily one of his best, I think. So Mutants is, guess what? This is an Ocean game. It's quite miraculous, really, because it's like the first good one in a while. And it's created by our friends at Denton Designs. Good old Denton. So the first thing that greets you on this is a Stuart Fotheringham title screen. Nice it is too. Classic. Bit of a classic game, this. It's one of those ones that's kind of always lived in the background of Ocean's catalogue. And I have to say, I played it a bit back in the day. And it was quite nice to come back to this. So let's just go over what is the game and all of that outside of the sort of the music and all the brouhaha. So this is actually, at the surface, a kind of a shoot-'em-up collector thing. In the vein of a few games that we've had a bit like this. So it's a little bit of Parallax in there. There's a little bit of Z. There's a few others that we're not going to mention them because we come across some more of these and they're not as good. But there's something like that. But this game is set in the future, and in the future, mutants, aka bioweapons or microgenetic monsters, are used to destroy everything. And they have been created by what's called the Zero Survivor Corporation. I got quite a Matrix vibe off this. I'm not sure if it's because I watched the most recent Matrix movie shortly after or before playing this. I can't remember. Anyway, or maybe I didn't. Anyway, so it's been decided by somebody, the powers, whomever, that the Zero Survivor Corporation and all of its contained mutants, must be destroyed to save millions of lives. It's never really explained in the instructions why, but let's just go with that. So you are the pilot chosen to do this in your trusty spaceship. Your spaceship called the Rainbow Warrior. Okay. Has lots of strange connotations.
Is that what the ship's called?
Yeah, it's called the Rainbow Warrior, yeah.
I did not know that.
Yep, yes.
Wow, okay.
So anyway, we won't talk about, the other Rainbow Warrior. It's resting at the bottom of the ocean, I think. Anyway, so the mutant strains are held in 15 pens, each of which, contains a self-destruct device. Seems a stupid thing to put in there if you don't want anyone to go in there and utilize it, but there you go. So each one of those contains a self-destruct device. Your job is to enter the pen, find the self-destruct device, and get out. Once you've got all the self-destruct devices, you can enter the 16th pen. They're all available to you on a grid. The 16th one is a maze, and so you navigate carefully around the maze with your spaceship. Assemble them when you get to that point assemble the self-destruct device from the component parts that you've found, and then that will destroy the mutants and all the giant organisms and everything else, and then it's on to the next level, the next pen. So you start the game with a view of your fighter ship on the right and a column of icons on the left. Nice graphics in this, actually, I think. Quite colourful, quite nicely designed, quite nice sprites. About the right size for this kind of thing. I'll come to the pen graphics, as it were, the graphics inside the pens in a minute. But from the outset, you are just presented with this interface, like, boom, there it is. So start title screen, interface. So when you start this, you've then got to choose a few options. So you can choose, obviously, to have the music and the sound effects on or off. You can choose either. It's quite good sound effects in this as well, so it's quite a nice balance. And then once you do that, you can also choose the different kind of armaments. Now, certain weapons in the game, you've got missiles, bullets, and shields that you can choose from. And some of those are better inside certain pens. So in some of the pens, you would need to use shields, instead of which you can sort of put round things and sort of block things in. In some of them, you use missiles because they're a bit more powerful. And so you sort of a bit of trial and error in this game to find out which is the best weapon to use for the best pen in order for you to get in and get the self-destruct component parts. Because once you're inside those pens, so once you've chosen your weapons and you start the game, you're then presented with your grid of 16 places to go. You then start with you can choose any of them in any order, but obviously you choose which one you want to go for. And then you will materialize inside the pen. You're on like a transmat pad, and then it's a scramble then to fly around the levels. You control it with your joystick in kind of thankfully, just sort of in an up, down, left, right, sort of flying around 360 way. So it's not one of those rotationally controlled games, which would be a nightmare. So it's not any of those.
No.
So you start off on you beam into the center of this place, and then you've got to scoot around, avoiding whatever mutants are in there that are going to try and kill you. Now, the mutants in those things can vary from sort of things that like grow all over the place to things that follow you around to things that just randomly appear all over the place. It's really hard to describe the mutants, but they are kind of just, well, for want of a better description, they're not like Space Invaders or anything like that. They're kind of more organic looking and feeling than that. They kind of grow and splurge around and do all of that. Sometimes in those pens, you can be very quickly overwhelmed. So you've got to move quick or figure out the plan, get the thing. You get back to the center point where you transport in and transport out. The transport pad is the only place where the enemies can't kill you in there. So you've got to really fly around, because if they get too many of you, you're going to die, and then you're losing your lives and stuff like that. So once you've got that back, you then go into the 16th pen once you've collected all of those up, and then you go and assemble it, and then boom, and then you into the next level. So the enemies in this kind of spuriously different, from blobs to blocks to lines to things that float around. And sometimes in the game, when you're playing it, those can slow the action down a bit. So I don't know if that was a quirk of my emulator or whether that did that on the C64. When I tried it on my C64 Maxi, it was the same, so I don't know. But that's technically an emulator, so I don't know if on the real hardware that didn't happen. But it did slow it down a bit, which meant the game, it didn't slow it down to the point where it was unplayable. It just felt more sluggish to control in some of the pens than perhaps it would in others when there was more going on. But on the whole, it's a kind of a curious game. I'm not wholly set on what it is, what it's trying to be. And because of that, it kind of feels odd to play. because you're kind of thrown into a game where it's not quite a shoot 'em up, and it's not quite a 360-degree shooter, and it's not quite kind of a parallaxy thing. It has parallax vibes and those kind of vibes, and its graphics are nice, and there's some nice looking enemies. But it just feels, for me, it felt a little bit overwhelming at times and kind of incongruous. Like it didn't, like all these pieces were somehow connected, but they just didn't quite make the game feel totally fluid enough. And so the idea, for example, picking the right bullets for the right enemies is just trial and error. There's no real way you're going to know about that until you just play the game a lot and figure out that, in pen 16 or pen 14, you're going to need shields because it's better than using bullets. And it's just a bit trial and error for me. And as much as the controls are nice and responsive, and even with the lagging, I just felt like as a cohesion of shoot 'em up, it was neither a shoot 'em up nor a collect 'em up enough to be really good at either. But that said, I think they've tried to cram a lot into this. There's a nice game design underneath all this somewhere, and the graphics do lend themselves to it, and it's got nice music in it. So I have to say I enjoyed the replay. It surprised me how much I enjoyed it I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. And it felt like this was an ocean game that finally, after all those crap ocean titles we've had, because I think the last one we played, I hate to think if it's a knockout, but it might have been something like that, but it wasn't a good one.
No, it
so
wasn't.
So the last ocean games haven't been very good. So as much as this isn't a perfect game, but in any stretch of the imagination, it's certainly a step in the right direction for them. In the hands of Denton Designs, it's got the look and feel and the music and the sort of wherewithal. It's just not quite shoot 'em up enough to be shoot 'em up, and it's not quite collect 'em up enough to be collect 'em up, and the hybrid is just not quite right for me. But I still enjoyed it all the same. What about you?
Yeah. In fact, some of the phrases you've written are exactly what I've written or said are exactly what I've got here. So my first comment, finally, a decent ocean game. Woo-hoo. After weeks of dross. And it's an original take on the shooter. You take the part of it, you're a pacifist space pilot or something, or
that's
trying
right,
to recover the 16 parts for self-destruct mechanism, you said, take down the mutants and the Survivor Zero Corporation. So it's it's like part strategy game, part shooter.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because there's, like you said, you've got your three types of weapons. I thought there were mines. I've got rocket mines and guns, but shield mines, it's a word for whatever. So you've got to select the right one for each pen. It really, if you go in with the wrong one, you're screwed.
Which can happen a lot.
yeah. Well, I'll come to that in a bit. So on the surface, I thought the visuals are very nice. They're unusual. Because the mutants themselves are based on like cells, aren't they? Cellular growth.
Yes, yeah.
And
like
so,
germs.
and so it's almost like they grow and mutate. They're like fast versions of the slime almost in Boulder Dash.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good point.
In which case they just spew into the space and come after you. And sometimes they don't come after you until you get the piece or you go near them. And there's some quite nice little touches to them. And they're weirdly different. Like there's one that you just have to, it won't do anything until you collect it and then it just spreads so fast you're screwed.
Oh yeah, you got to move quick.
Unless you've dropped all your mines around it, or your shields or whatever, and then it can't get out, and then you're all right. So once you figure these things out, each one is almost, each pen is almost like a little puzzle, and that's quite interesting and quite unusual, and I did quite enjoy that. But like you said, I've got here, there's a lot of trial and error, a lot, because you've got to basically pen 1, what works, pen 2, what works, and then you make a note. Mines thingy, and then it's not only that. With some of them, because they're so freeform, it's you need reactions. And like yourself, I didn't notice the slowdown, but I have got a note that although the controls are okay, I'd like them to be a little snappier, to feel a tad sluggish, to turn and aim at times. So I don't know whether that was experiencing that slowdown or stuff. I didn't notice. Maybe, I don't know. I think I was playing it on an emulator on a screen that I think just eradicates slowdown, but maybe there was something in the background that wasn't working. So it could quite possibly be that. There's something there within the code itself, I think, which is not quite letting you be fast enough to deal with the threat coming at you, which is a pain, because I do like a lot of this. I like the idea, I like the concept, I like the variety. There's a lot in here. The sound is great. It's 2 good tunes. Probably yes. Whether it's Fred Graysbreast, I don't know, because I'm a huge Mission AD fan. But it's certainly up there, and it's decent sound effects as well. And I like the presentation. Although, I mean, you are straight into the game, but I don't know. I'm a purist. I would have liked a title screen.
Well, it had the Stuart Fotheringham title screen. But
it had that, but I mean a press start to play. It's got a title screen, like a logo, so a loading screen or whatever. But I would have liked a title screen, something at the front. Call me a purist.
No memory, I think, for that in this.
Probably not. No, and I think a lot of games do suffer from that. They just throw you straight in, don't you? It's game, go.
Yeah. We're going to come across a few of them.
Well, yes, we are. Although I did like the game over screen, which is well done, and it better be, as you're going to see it a lot.
Yeah, well, it's exactly the same as when you finish the level, you get the same sort of vectory laser effect when you go to the next level. So it's nice looking.
It is quite nice, game over. Oh, yes, again, I know. I did find on occasion that it's quite possible to get trapped in a death loop.
Yes, you can.
Because you spawn exactly where you die.
Yep.
And if you spawn in the middle of a load of mutants, you're just dead again immediately, and dead, and game over. It's like, oh, okay. It would have been nice to spawn at the teleportation point.
Yeah.
Yeah, just transport me back there and give me a chance to sort of regroup and reassess. So that's, especially if you've got like 3 or 4 components in, you've got 3 or 4 devices, 5 or 6, you get in there and then suddenly you just get caught and it's like, game over, done. It's challenging and it's good. And it's good to see someone try something different. I mean, this is not the Denton designs of, what's that awful one, Dante's Inferno. This is more Denton's designs going...
Cobra.
No, it's not the... Oh God, no! Let's never mention that again. Don't say those words at me. I'm just reminded of flashing dead enemies, and that sounds worse than it actually is. But
we should never mention that word again.
No, we shouldn't. But no, I was thinking this is the Denton designs of Frankie Goes to Hollywood and stuff. At least trying something in a more imaginative, unusual branch. So there's a lot to like here, but it's hard. So be prepared to cry in frustration. Some of those mutants are just rock hard no matter how many times you try and what strategies you try. I'd be interested to watch, I've not watched one, but I'd be interested to watch a full-on playthrough of this on YouTube, or someone go through them all and see what strategies are in place for each pen. I also found the maze impossible to navigate when I did try it.
Yeah, it's really hard, actually, the maze. I found that one of the most difficult things, because I went right through the whole... did all the pens.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and got to the thinking, this is great. I've got to when you go to the next level, it's exactly the same again. It's the same thing again. It's just slightly harder, which is actually impossibly harder. Yeah, which is a bit annoying because it's even the same graphics again, so it just ups the ante on the volume of crazy going on.
All right. Oh God, no! I've never got anywhere near finishing this. Your skills must be mad.
Well, I developed a knack of being able to figure it out, and lots of save games on the old emulator. So save states are a win.
Oh, okay. So you were save stating it.
Well, yeah, that's the only way you could do it. So when I finished a pen and figured it out, I save stated it at that one and labelled it. So.
All right. Okay. See, I wasn't doing that. I was just like, I want to. If someone just to play through it from beginning to end in one go without save stating.
I didn't have the time to do that.
No one does. No one ever has. Not even the members of Denton Designs have had that. It's like, no one can do this. But yeah, it's good, and it's 90%. I think it's about right. I think it deserves a sizzler for.
Yeah, it's a sizzler all
I think
day
you said it's almost there. And it's almost there. It's just some bits and bobs could have been just a bit more cohesive, but I think
a bit more forgiving, maybe a little bit more forgiving.
I think so. Yeah, and like I said, just put me back at the start of the level.
Yeah,
at the transporter would have been a step in the right direction. But yeah, no, Mutants, it's good. And it's one of the better ones we're going to play.
It is. Well, it's one of the better ones, and it's certainly a much better ocean game of recent. So fair play to him for that. At least there's that. And it's original, which is good to see. Finally, something see some original stuff. So Mutants, yeah, we like it. It's all right. Go play it. It's good. That's that one. All right, let's move on. To our next one, which isn't original. Because it's weird. Our next one is Star Soldier. So what's Star Soldier? It's £9. And I've noted that it sounds quite cool to be a Star Soldier. That's a cool thing, isn't it? Not your run-of-the-mill Earth Soldier, but a Star Soldier. Yeah, it's a good name. It's a good
name. But as with most things, as we found in this podcast, the reality is not as cool as the name. No. Because essentially you're a bounty hunter, and this is a horizontal version of Commando. And what I've always thought Commando needed was monetary problems. Whenever I play Commando, I'm like, who's paying for these bullets and grenades? Who? Which civil servant back home is counting up the tally of like, you're using a lot of grenades and this costing us money. So every time you go out and try to rescue these, there's budgetary issues. I'm sorry, mate, you're not going out. We're going to, maybe that's why Rambo went with, he had to procure everything on site. So more budgetary focus Rambo, certainly a part of Reaganomics or whatever. That aside, so what's this game about? The game starts with a screen showing a view of the galaxy for no real reason.
No.
There are some planets in the top half, and there's an icon-driven menu at the bottom. And so in this icon-driven menu, you can load up with extra lives. So I don't know why. Just give me lives. Grenades, missiles, and all kinds of stuff. But be careful, as I know, because it all costs cash. Someone's got to pay for this. Someone's balancing those books. There's a credit and debit, and you run out of money. That's it. You're screwed for the rest of the stuff. The life of an intergalactic bounty hunter does not come cheap. So once this is done, you can then head into the second menu, where you can scan about the galaxy. You can read info on planets and select a job. Now, yeah, I read them. The jobs vary in scale and pay benefits and whatever. But once one is selected, and that is basically go and clear up a planet from the nefarious mob, seems to be the jobs on offer. You press go, and hey presto, you're in a sideways scrolling commando variant, which is weird. And it's right to left.
It's all kinds of wrong.
It's right to left, but it's only slower as commando. It's slower than commando. It's slower than Who Dares Wins, and it's not as good as any of them. You run from right to left and you shoot all the enemies in your way, or you throw grenades with the tap of the spacebar, as long as you bought some, of course, if you remember to buy some. And I noticed here sort of thing that the grenades look like eggs.
Yes, they do.
which was, I thought, was always a bonus. Something looked like an egg, but at least I did note that they did have decent explosion radiuses to kill people. So not like that. What was that crappy one we played where the explosion was was it Cobra, wasn't it?
It's Cobra.
It's Cobra where you threw hamburgers or whatever. The objective is to make it all the way to the left until it scrolls no more. And I don't know why. And then that's it. You complete the mission. Well done. You've stopped the screen scrolling. And then it's back to the main screen, and then repeat for the next job until you die because you did not buy or couldn't afford any more continues because you have to buy lives. And now there's an interesting idea here. It's just not very well implemented. Because the problem is that the whole sort of meta stuff around it, budgeting for your commando jobs and being a bounty hunter. Okay, yeah, I get behind that in a strange way. Just the problem is the shooting, the commando bit is rubbish. It's poor. The visuals are all right, but everything on land is very brown. Or at least the planets. I visited a few planets and they were all very brown. The music was annoying and repetitive, and nothing really drew you into the actual arcade part of the game. With a bit more thought and variety in some of the missions, maybe this could have been okay. It just feels badly designed and just becomes a chore to play. I like the idea of being a galactic bounty hunter. I think that's an interesting thing. Just not done like this, because actually running to right to left is just dull and boring and gets dull very quickly, and that maybe turn it off. How about you? Did you find any joy in being a Star Soldier?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Didn't think you would.
I felt this was just a really weird combination of things that just didn't work. So the idea of some kind of resource management mixed with a commando game I was just like, what? Yeah. Why? And so I'm suddenly finding myself, should I buy more crates of grenades? Because I'm thinking, what is this stupidity? And there's a few things that I noted. I mean, graphically, all right. It's kind of, when you get to the commando bits, it's okay. The graphics are all right. Like you say, it looks like a kind of sideways commando, which, by the way, is such a cool name for an album by some kind of industrial group.
Or our spin-off pubs.
One of the spin-off pubs, yes. Anyway, so the part where you're sort of, I don't.
Did you say an industrial album?
Yeah.
Sideways Commando.
Well, there's one called Suicide Commando in there. It's like a.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, it's just like it could be a covers band, just like done with folk instruments. Anyway, so
KMFDM done by folk.
I'd tell you what, that'd be weird. So okay, the first bit where you're going through finding the planets. That's just kind of the clicky bit till you get to the interesting bit, isn't it? It's kind of neither here nor there until you realise that it's kind of important that you spend your money, such as it is, on the right things, because it can just end the game really abruptly if you don't, which is stupid. Mm-hmm. And then when you get to the kind of the weird part, which is the kind of sideways, everything about that's just kind of weird. It's like the fact that it's going right to left, the fact that it's sort of sideways commando going that way. There's no logic to those enemies. They're just kind of, for me, they kind of clustered together at the top of the screen and just, they were kind of, it was like a turkey shoot. There was no real patterns of enemies or anything like that. There was no logic to them. It reminded me of the Vikings game in that respect, where the enemies just ran around like a bunch of headless chickens just waiting to be shot. There was the commando, it felt, and so does, and the same with Rambo to some extent, and certainly with Who Dares Wins, there's a logical pattern to where those enemies are going to run in and you interact with them. This wasn't like that. And then I was scrolling along till I came across some kind of wall. Yeah. And then it was just this giant wall. And then there was a bug in the game that let me kind of skippity-scappity, by pressing the fire button, I kind of floated across the wall at the top of the screen, made it past the wall and just kept going and going. It was just, it was weird. And there was just clearly bugs in this game that they hadn't worked out the system. My final take on it all after that was just, there's just too many parameters of this game that aren't working, and it's just not cohesive enough. Good name. Sound effects were kind of It's just, it all felt a bit bitty and a bit not thought about properly, and with bugs in there and things. Perhaps this needed a little bit more time in the oven, or perhaps a few more ingredients, or maybe some taking out. But you know what? There's a reason why they hadn't, to this point, done a right-to-left scrolling commando. And funnily enough, the only other game I could think of that was actually a left-to-right commando type game was that one we reviewed many, many moons ago, which was the World War I game with the impossible-to-avoid missile and the grenades, and where we said at the time, there is a place for a game with a single sprite.
Doughboy?
Yeah, Doughboys.
Well, that was just a single screen thing, wasn't it?
It was, but it was still a left-to-right commando variant. This is just a right-to-left scrolling commando variant. Neither of those games worked for that exact reason.
Yeah. Doughboy didn't work for many reasons.
There's a reason why top-down, bottom-up scrolling is kind of the way that they always did these kind of things, because technically side-scrolling shoot-em-ups like this don't work this way. So, no, Star Soldier. And it got 40%. I'd say it's probably a bit generous if it was me, especially for that price, but I would never have gone for that one anyway. So
No.
No good, no, not good.
No, cool name, bad game.
Starfish Soldier, that one.
Chocolate Star Soldier. There was a lot of brown in it.
Well, I found a grey level, but it was just...
did you?
It was exactly the same level, just in grey. It's like, you've got to grey world instead of brown world. I'm like, oh, right, okay, well, there you go.
The legend of the grey world is true.
It was true. I still ran into the same wall and still found the same bug to get through that wall, so, yeah.
Did you? Yeah, because I got to the wall and then it just went, mission completed, well done. It took me back to the main screen.
I got to the wall and it just stuck there and just stayed there. And I thought, I can't scroll to the right and I can't scroll to the left. What do I do? So I sort of worked my way to the top left-hand corner of the screen. And as I wiggled the joystick and pressed fire, it just kind of gradually, maybe 1 or 2 pixels at a time, worked its way over that wall until eventually I was over it. So I was like, hey.
Oh, I don't know. I just got mission complete. Well done. You've
I didn't get that.
Cleared the world.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Okay. Oh, well. Well, you didn't miss much more because it just took you back to the thing and then you spend some money and go to another one.
Yeah, I thought it might.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Star Soldier. Chocolate Star Soldier. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to our next one. So, Graham, this is another one of yours. Tell me all about what it's like. Again, another nice name. What's it like to be a future knight?
Future knight.
Apart from bubbly.
Yes, very. So this is very. He looks a bit like a Jelly Baby, doesn't he? The main guy.
He really does. Yeah.
Anyway, so the space cruiser, the SS Rust Bucket, has crashed on planet 2749 of the ZRAG system or ZRAG system. Yeah, of course it is. And its passengers have been taken hostage by. God, I have to say this: Spegbot the Terrible and his minions. Thankfully, it wasn't Smegbot, because that would be gross and no. But so just honestly. So among them is Princess Amelia. Could be Prince these days, it doesn't matter. Who is the beloved of the future knight, Randolph. That's you. So you've been teleported into the wreck of the Rust Bucket to defeat Spegbot and rescue her. The crashed ship contains a horde of broken, malfunctioning Berserker droids. Berserker! And I'm going to insert the Berserker from that movie that we...
Clerks.
Yeah, I'm going to insert Berserker from that there. Berserker! So it's got a load of malfunctioning Berserker droids in it who will attack you on sight if they touch you, and they will reduce your energy levels. Reduction to 0 means a new suit of armor, 3 suits, and your history. You're a dead knight. You're a has-been. You're a last knight. You're a dead Knigget. You got a laser weapon. You are no more now. You've got a laser weapon, so you can shoot. You can upgrade that as you go around by picking up the various upgrades that are strewn around the ship. You can also find keycards, and oddly in this game, I thought spells, of which there are 4 types that destroy enemies, and 9 which you must use in the correct places to complete the mission. You're going to start to see the problem with this game slowly as these things develop. So the only way to escape the level is to find the exit pass, which allows you to progress to the forest. And completing that level in a similar manner allows you to enter Spegbot's castle. To rescue the princess, you need to have the correct couple of spells, or it ain't gonna work. So I'll let you kind of let all of that stew for a second, and then you'll realise what the problems of that game design are. Yeah, you guessed it. It's basically a run around the multiple levels of this. This level is graphically presented to you in kind of a 3-layer, and there's a lot of this going on at the minute. A 3-layer left-to-right scrolling, well, actually multiple directions scrolling, but layered scrolling platform game where you kind of run around, you can go up, down, slides, a bit like a weird snakes and ladders, really, this. And you pick up the things and shoot the things, and you're making your way around, and you go in and out of doors, but every single level in the spaceship at least looks almost identical, barring the colour. So it goes from red to like an orange, I think, to grey. And the problem with that is it just feels monotonous and samey and dull. And even when you get out of that and you get into the forest, that isn't graphically amazing, and it still feels monotonous and samey and dull. The logic of the game doesn't change. The problem is if you don't have the things you need in the right place at the right time, you can't do anything in this game. And that's a big problem. That's that we're heading into the same problem territory that Avenger had, is that if you don't have the right combinations of things for when you get towards the end of this game, you can't do it. And that is really stupid. That's a real painful way of doing game design, because if you get all that way, are you going to want to restart this game and go back and learn from those lessons when you've got that far in? I don't think you are. So I always actually quite liked Future Knight. I think it's got a really nice presentation to it. Now, as much as he looks like a jelly baby, the guy that you play in it, and he does this really coy thing of waving when you first start, which I really hate. The music when it first starts, I really like. It's a really great Ben Daglish piece of music. One of my faves of his, actually. When I once did a duet with him, sang it actually outside of a small cafe in Matlock when I was chatting to him once. Really bizarre that we ended up sort of singing a full-blown version of that tune for some reason. I can't remember why. Anyway, we did. But Zapped described it as a twee medieval title tune. I wouldn't have said it was, but okay. So it kind of looks the part. It looks kind of bas reliefy, bold graphics, chunky style, very medium res. And the game at its heart, I suppose, is just kind of it's a big old arcade adventure puzzler. Graphics, chunky, quite nicely realised. Everything kind of works. I actually found a couple of bugs in one version, so I acquired another version which seemed to not have those bugs in it. So maybe that was just, again, something to do with my emulator. Could be. I'm having a few weird issues with it like that. And so while everything works, everything is also, like I said, samey looking. So you're wandering around. You're going to need to map this game in some way, because I think, and you're going to need a set of pencil crayons to map the colours as well, because the maps all kind of look the same. They all apply the same logic. There's some really annoying enemies in them that just get in your way and just do you in quite quickly, and it's all a bit unforgiving. So I thought it was difficult, but that logical problem of not having the right things at the right time or else is really annoying, and I think that leaves it more like a trial and error game. And the game with this kind of an arcade adventure that's trial and error is too big and too cumbersome to make it, unless you're really into these things. Are you going to keep going back and back to learn from your mistakes? I don't think you are. So I think it looks the part a little bit. It just becomes tiresome. I imagine it's a bit like a Choose Your Own Adventure book where all the descriptions are identical, except for the periodic death scene that you pick up. So, it's the best way I can describe it. Zapp likened it to a poor man's Ghosts and Goblins in their review. And I can see that there's parallels in some way. You're rescuing a princess. That's the kind of parallel I could see. I think they got on a weird medieval sort of thing. I don't know quite where they were.
Well, I think it's night, isn't it? So
yeah, and I suppose
the word night.
It's got the word night in it. And I mean, but the whole game is set in space on a spaceship with a guy that looks like a spaceman fighting robots. I'm just not seeing the knights in shining armor connection, really.
No, I'm not.
Nor has it got a twee medieval title tune, so I'm just not sure what they were doing. Anyway, if you can get past those elements that make it, I think, are the problems, and I think if you can get past that and just, if that's the kind of person you are, you might like it. And I do like the way it looks, but I think it just gets dull on the eyes and brain in the end. What about you?
Yeah, I've never liked Future Knight. I didn't like it back then. I don't like it now. So in the past, I didn't like it. In the future, I don't like it. There's nothing about this night that I like at any point in time, past, present, future, wherever. I never liked this game. It's another Andrew Green, Chris Shrigley game, isn't it? So it's Bounder, Bulldog. Yeah. They're prolific.
Oh, there's a few coming with them.
Those two. Yeah. They're making a lot, aren't they? So weirdly enough, as well, the cover ad is on the. Do you ever get on the back of a horse in this game? Because on the cover, you're in the back of a horse.
I don't remember ever doing that.
But if you did get on the back of a horse, it better be a strong horse, because, like we said, he's a round knight. It's certainly rounded. Yeah. Randolph. It's another damsel in distress game. Play as Randolph. Yeah, all the things you've said. I just find it really dull to play. I just find it slow and ploddy.
Yeah.
And it just, to me, it never hung together, and it's that bloody thing again of like, stop spawning enemies at me for no reason.
Yeah, it does do that.
The graphics are all right in that chunky C64 way. There's nice animation and things, and the background's decent enough. Ben Daglish tune is all right. Sound effects are okay. It's just a ploddy nature. To me, this feels like someone's seen Metroid. And tried to do and been influenced by that into a C64 version of that without understanding what actually makes Metroid tick.
Without understanding anything to do with Metroid.
Yeah, and because it lacks the pace, the progress of that game. But if you imagine Metroid as, Samus in a suit running around, shooting stuff, jumping around and stuff like that, totally. This feels like a C64 attempt at that.
Yeah.
But it's not that great, and as I said, the slowness of it, and the constantly spawning those bloody ghost or those wizard type enemy things.
Ugh, don't.
Oh, they're just annoying, and those massive droid robot-y things. And that's the other thing I couldn't get about it. There's no coherent style or feel of design to it, because wizards don't go with robots and spells don't go with futuristic stuff. It's like,
it makes me wonder if this maybe was another game at a certain point in time where it had knights and it was set in a medieval world, and then they've just futured it up.
Yeah, because then that middle bit, which is a bit Ghosts and Goblins-y, in the foresty bit, it feels it's like what is it's like two things that just are a bit of a mess. And no, like I said, I never got on with this game. It's 69%, whatever, it's tenner, and it's just one of those games that I think some people do like, some people don't. But I think it's just a sprawling mass of something.
Yeah. Go and play Ghosts and Goblins.
Yeah, I'd rather do that at this point than this, and it's just I don't like this because I get what they're saying about it, because it's kind of a free-form Ghosts and Goblins or Metroid, but it's nowhere near as good as any of these things, and it's slow and ploddy. And again, I think it's one of those characters where like you said, he waves, and it's like, oh, you're no Future Knight, he's cool, isn't he? No, he's not. I don't know him. Who is he? Why should I care? I don't.
No.
Like, piss off, Randolph.
Slow and ploddy with the two dwarfs that were never going to be welcomed back to the little house.
Well, they weren't. Well, they never made it back before everyone got up in the morning and went out digging again.
Yep, exactly.
We're slow and ploddy on the way. Yeah, bloody dwarves. Yeah, so no, I don't like Future Knight. Never have, never will.
Well, I didn't get that impression. I thought you'd loved it.
No, I've never liked it. You can always tell. We've talked about Commodore 64 games many times over the years.
We have,
and it's never a game that's come up in conversation because why would I? No. I'm just gonna go. I hated it.
Yeah,
I've never liked it. So there you go. This just cemented that. I don't like it.
That's fair.
And that's what I think of you, Harvey. There we go. Future Knight. Nope, it's not in my future. All right, let's move on. Because Future Knight may have been ploddy, but our next one, I don't even know if there's a word for it.
Hey.
Oh, what is the next one? So the next one is it's a football manager game. This is the double. So if you've ever wanted to be a football manager and you felt that football manager was too obvious a name, well, now we've got the double. That's too much. That's too obvious for me. I don't like that. Football manager. Give me something different. Give me something Duissimo. And this is Duissimo times a million.
God, you're not kidding.
So in the double, you can try and win the coveted double in the double. That's what it is. So it's a football management sim, and it is on the sim end of the market. So this is not on the arcade end of the market. This is a sim, like Football Manager. It's graphically sparse, shall we say. It's a lot of menus. So you start the game you're being offered a contract from some club in the third division. And when I mean the third division, that is the old school. So when the Premiership and Championship were mere pipe dreams. There's only 3 divisions in this, though, not all 4, because obviously they couldn't. I can't imagine what it would have been like if they put all 4 divisions in now. We'll come to it a bit later. But so you get offered a contract that lasts a year, and you can get booted out at any old time if you think you're doing badly or whatever. So should you take up the offer, and because it says, do you want to take it up? It's like, well, why would you not? You bought the game. If you say no, what happens? Does it just turn off?
Yeah, it just resets. You're like, oh, it took me ages to load that.
Yeah. So once that's in, as a football manager, you then have to run all aspects of the club, all of them. You are not just manager, you are everything. And one of the things you have to do is you have to predict the number of crowd coming in. Which is kind of like, really stupid. I just basically, when I went to tell the number, I just stuck my finger in my mouth.
I predict
2,000. How do I know? A season had started and I have no stats to go by. I have no idea. So you have to run everything. It's predicting crowds. You have to improve the ground. You have to buy, sell players. You've got to hire scouts to look for new players, all that sort of thing. And there's loads of stuff to do. All these boring menus you have to go through. Also, as well, if you do go back to, as I did, because it was so slow, I pressed enter twice and it took me back to predicting the crowd. It doesn't remember what you put in before. I don't even know if it makes any difference. I have no idea. But anyway, at some point, you'll want to go and play a game. So you pick your best 11, and I hope you remembered your best 11 because you just get a list of players with numbers against them. And the numbers aren't their stats, it's just what number they play. So you might have 2 number 11s, 2 number 4s, 2 number 6. This is when numbers were numbers back in the old school football, when it was, the players were numbered 1 to 11. None of this 64 or 72 or 23s. It was like, no, you were either number 1, number 2, number 3, and so on. So you pick a best 11, no substitutes, and then you continue through the screens. At this point, it tells you, and until you get to the start of the game. Well, when I say at this point, you continue through the screens, there's a point where this is where the issue with the game lies. So I played this on an emulator, obviously, and I played through it in normal mode, just normal speed, because before you can start a match, the game has to pick the starting 11 for all the other teams in all 3 divisions. Each one takes 2 or 3 seconds, 4 or 5 seconds to pick them, and you have to wait. You just sit there and wait. All right, okay, all right. For purposes of the podcast, I will wait. So once this is over with, I'm sure it'll kind of speed up. So then you can either watch the match, you can watch another match. Why would you put yourself through another match where you have nothing invested in, and have no knowledge of what's going on in your game? What kind of manager are you? Or you just head straight to the results? Of course, you want to watch your own game, so you watch a match, and well, let's say it's a little on the slow side.
A little,
and it's a bit badly animated and ugly. So it's kind of that I don't know what, it's not quite an isometric view. It's kind of like at an angle, slightly sort of 60-degree angle, whatever you're looking at it from as it progresses from one side. And it does scroll, so, and there are 11 players who wander about and a ball does get kicked. And at one point, there were 4 of their players in my half and none of mine. And then they tackled themselves and I got the ball back somehow. I don't know what was going on.
I'd love to see that in reality.
It was amazing. They just tackled themselves and then my keeper came out. And it's a full 90 minutes, but it takes about 15 minutes to watch the game. And it's slow and dull and boring and ugly. So what you're thinking, oh God, okay. So I sat through one game, and then once that was done, whatever they've done, the C64 then has to work out the results of all the other games, the 64 teams, 31 other games. And that's bad enough while it slowly chugs away at the most boringly slow biddy printer thing, glowing up the screen, which is dull as hell. And then, for reasons known only to the programmer of this thing, it has to work out the attendance figures for every game. I don't know why. And that takes upwards of half an hour, all this. I was like, what the hell? I went off. I was working on some of the stuff. I came back, check if it had done. No. Carried on working. Came back. No, it's not done. And that was just for one badly animated game. It took nearly an hour to get through one game. There's a lot of stats here, but the slowness, it's just a nightmare. It's just a nightmare to contend with. However, if you do play through emulation, stick Vice on warp speed. Because if you stick it on warp speed, and then I went through it all again, got to the game, stuck it on warp speed, amazingly, there's actually an enjoyable game of football to watch. And I sat there, and when I scored, I went, yeah, I scored. But it can only be done by running the game at 12 or 13 times what C64 can actually do. So it's a game that's waiting for a lot more processing power, or it's badly programmed. Either it's one or two, I don't know. But if you play it in warp mode, it's actually not too bad. But it can only be done in warp mode, because on a regular 64, it's just atrocious. It makes treacle speed look fast. I can't imagine what this was, but I never played this back in the day. This was my first stint at this, and it's so slow, but it's got a lot of stats and a lot of things going on. I don't know if anything mean anything. And if you play it in warp mode, then okay, but if you play it in normal mode, settle in, because you're in for a long wait. But you've got to like football management, and you've got to like running a football club, otherwise you're not going to get anything from this. So I don't know if it's any good or not. It's not. It's slow, but I don't know. It got 17%, and I can understand why. Did you enjoy your time trying to win the double? Imagine playing this. How long it's going to take you to win the double?
No.
How long did it take to get through a season?
No, of course I didn't enjoy it. I don't enjoy football.
Being the massive
simulation.
Football fan you are, I thought you would.
Even if I was on the edges of, maybe football league simulations are for me. Not like this. I mean, it's obviously written in BASIC, and that's in of itself, I mean, it's impressive, I have to say. I mean, obviously it's going to run slow, and BASIC itself, I mean, it must be in BASIC to run at that kind of speed, I think, and have that kind of textual dexterity and commitment to the Commodore font. So I thought, you know what? I knew it was going to be slow. I mean, I wasn't prepared for how slow, and I have to say, it kind of totally tuned me out. Not being a football fan and this game are incompatible enough, but not being a football fan and this game taking a million years, I was like, what is it doing? And it was doing things I couldn't understand. I don't understand them. When it was just figuring out stuff. I'm like, what are you figuring out? Just let's go. And it says a lot about, I think, two things. So firstly, I think this is such an intricate and detailed simulation, even in BASIC, and I think that is a credit to whoever programmed it. Now, I'm not, because the fact that you sped it up by, 400% and that actually made it workable is kind of tells you that the game at its heart is quite an interesting Football Manager set game, similar to Football Manager, I imagine. And if you like that kind of thing and you're into that kind of thing, then amazing. And if you have got the patience to sit there back in the day on your Commodore 64 and wait for that video printer thing, because I'm just looking at it going, what? What? I mean, I'm pretty sure it's faster than this on telly. But you know what? Maybe, they've gone for this kind of idea, I guess, that, it's almost real-time sort of processing and real-time thought process behind it all. And the truth of the matter is that if you've got the patience for that and you're into football and all of that, back in 1987, maybe this was the thing that would really tickle your fancy. As somebody that's coming to this now who's never really been into football, certainly not football management, I don't really know why I need to know how many people are in the ground, really, other than, if you've got, hundreds of thousands of people playing there, I'm sure that's good. But I didn't really get much out of this. Do you know, this is only 1 year behind 1988's Micropro Soccer, which kind of comes along and sort of shows you how to do a football game, really, and make it fun and playable.
Yeah, true.
So there's space for these simulation games, I suppose. But is this better than the only other one I know of, which is Football Manager? Well, I don't like either of them. So I leave that decision to the people that like those kind of games, and maybe you. And if you tell me that this is at 400%, it's actual speed, this game's reasonably playable, I'll take your word for it. I'm ever going to reload that and find out.
I don't blame you. I'm not going to either.
No, it's just, I don't. And they're not games that are going to ever be something I'm into ever. But that's not to say that I don't have a little bit of respect for the volume of complexity inside of the BASIC that drives that. Because I programmed BASIC myself to some extent, but never to something to that degree. And it must be just typing the word "run" must be like pain, let alone saving the damn thing. So I can only imagine that now. The person who made that's got patience of a saint, like the craziest. Imagine game testing it and getting a bug happens after the 6th hour. You'd want to kill yourself. So, no.
I was to try and track it down. The only way you could do it is play another 6 hours, which, to be fair, sort of thing would only be after one game.
Well, I thought maybe it's called the double because that's the speed you need to run it at. But I don't know, maybe not.
No, the speed you got to run it at is the whatever the word is for the 14th.
Yeah, it's a lot faster.
It's a lot faster, yeah. I think I was running it at something like about 12, what was it, about 1200%.
Yeah, when your Pentium processor steps in and goes, hang on a minute, right, let me take care of this.
Yeah, and even then, it was still taking a second or two to do each game.
That's a lot of number crunching in BASIC.
A lot. There you go. That's the double. It's certainly not on the double. That's for sure.
Oh, very good.
There you go. I was saving that one for you. I hope you like that.
Yes.
Good. Let's move on to our last one for this section before we move into our music. And Graham, it's another Rainbird title. This is Tracker, not to be confused with the healthy chocolate bar.
No.
This is Tracker. Tell us all about Tracker.
Hey, so Tracker. Okay.
And there we go. Into music.
So this is presented by Rainbird again. Rainbird.
Rainbird.
And it's this is actually, I originally thought this was an Amiga game turned C64. That's not true. It's actually a C64 game that went full-blown Amiga at some point. Now, Rainbird, as it turns out, were actually an offshoot. They were considered the premium wing of Firebird. So they're all interconnected. So Rainbird, Firebird was actually set up by a guy called Tony Rainbird. That's actually his name. Now, I think whatever you think about the game, Tony Rainbird's a cool name for anybody.
Yes, yeah, it is. He sounds like he should be a sort of mid-80s spy on the French Riviera.
So Tony Rainbird presents, with the help of British Telecom, of course, Rainbird, which is Super Firebird, essentially. And so we are presented with Tracker. And if I start this off by saying that it comes with a 60-page novella and a poster and loads of other guff, and loads more guff on top of that guff. You could probably guess where we're heading with this, because what we said as many times is the more guff it comes with, normally the more crap the game is. This isn't going to necessarily break that trend. So just to give a very quick overview, on Zagoma, they've built a computer-controlled leisure facility that's gone mad and sent deadly cycloids to kill everyone. It sounds like Westworld. You are part of a tracker squad. They could have thought of a better name, I think, than that. Anyway, you're part of a tracker squad sent in to regain control and destroy the AWOL computers of the facility. So you control your squad, and the idea is you go in there and you've got to control a squad of trackers. You've got to navigate the trackways, and you could do that by destination, direction, or joystick, and then you can complete the mission. And the screen is split into a kind of 3 bands. So in the top, you've got your short-range view of the trackways. In the middle, you've got your view of trackers, the ones that you've got, so you can control multiple trackers at the same time, for want of a description. And at the bottom, you've got either a map or your combat view, which is a kind of a brown, 3D-ish brown of brown. It's just brown. Brownie brown.
Very brown.
It is. It's brown. It's Vector Brown. So that's Errol Brown's brother from Hot Chocolate. So
Bobby Brown's dad.
So essentially the game is you choose where you're going to go, and the idea is you've got to sort of chase down these cycloids inside of these trackers, and they're a bit like, the best way I can describe them really is kind of like the trenches of Star Wars, a Star Wars trench type idea, but brown, when you get to those kind of 3D bits. So this game was described, by the way, by a guy called Gary Scheinwald from Rainbird in an interview. He described that when they first got this game, because the idea of they wanted to produce these prestige vector titles for the Commodore 64. When they first came to this, he got given this project. The game was in a disastrous state. That's a quote. And then another quote is, it didn't fit into the Commodore 64's RAM and was incredibly buggy. The pseudo 3D trench portion was practically running at seconds per frame rather than frames per second. We've come across that before. So this buggy nightmare of a game was handed to somebody called Fuad Katan. Now, do you recognize that name?
No.
Now, Fuad Katan is the guy that made the Firebird game Empire. Now, Empire was the one that we found rotationally challenging, where you were rotating the world around you, and because your bullets were at the same speed as you, when you fired them, the bullets rotated. There was all sorts of issues and problems, but it was kind of a victory game. So I suppose what I'm saying is that the 60-page novella, the fighting and to control and kill the cycloids on Zaguma, all of that leads to this game, which is actually, by process of description from the people that made it, in a disastrous state, buggy, and it doesn't fit. And I think that actually describes what you end up seeing, is a game that's compressed into something that's oddly unplayable and actually quite boring. The idea of trying to kill the cycloids, which are sent to attack you in this kind of vector space, is stupid, because they can go much faster than you, and your thing is really difficult to control. And so that combination means you can never really shoot or kill anything, and if you do, it's more or less... Look, I kept just running into walls and not really controlling anything properly. And when I switched between the different views, I didn't know which tracker I was in, because they all look the damn same. So it's like, am I in tracker 3? Am I in tracker 4? What am I doing? And it becomes this impossible to navigate space and just tedious. And then when you get to the vector part, it's just, it's all meant to be this kind of clever 3D sort of thing, but if you're not doing it like Fresco and Fractalus or any of the Lucasfilm games, if you're not going to do it like that, then don't do it at all. Stop doing these crappy vector games. And this one's no exception. I think what they've done here is they've realised they've got a massive turd. And so they've just wrapped it in lots of really nice paper and a 60-page novella, and you get a poster and a nice box. But when you unwrap all of that, what you've got is a turd. There's no way around that. And it just plays like one. So I really didn't like it. It got a 41%, £14.95 on cassette. On cassette, £14.95. So this is their idea of a prestige turd. I mean, if you bought that, you have just scoffed some crap. You've just wolfed down, nom nom style. That is a massive dog shit brownie you've just eaten. Rank. And I feel, because there have been people out there that kind of, maybe, do you think at this point, there's suckers that were bought into this sort of this idea? Because they had Silverbird. Silverbird, I thought, is that their budget range or their posh budget range? Because Microrhythm was Silverbird, I think. Or was that Rainbird? I don't bloody know. I've lost all these different birds out there. This is just a bloody crap bird. So I didn't like this at all. I found it as just unplayable, weird, and worst of all, yet another boring Rainbird game. And no matter how much Rainbird you put on it, it's just crap. So I'm going to say it because it is dog egg. But what about you?
Yeah, £15 for this. That's my first comment. 15 quid. And I know we get accused of like being aggrieved about games from 35 years ago, but 15 quid for this is just, even now, that's the equivalent of somewhere around about 45, 50 quid.
Oh yeah, it's expensive stuff.
Christ on a bike. Anyway, I would not have been happy paying that.
Was the cassette gold or something?
If I'd have got the cassette of Gold by Spandau Ballet, I would have been happier in this. If that had been what they're giving me, I'd be like, oh, you know what? I've dodged a bullet.
Tony had this on the cover of the box. 2 thumbs up from Tony.
No one wants that.
Nobody.
Because his thumbs are massive, remember, and he has to get away from the coast. Oh dear! Another Rainbird overpromise and underdeliver is what I put.
Well said.
With this, it's a sub for me. This was a sub Quake -1. It reminded me of Quake -1.
Yes. Well,
if you think about Quake -1 was that sort of place where you sort of steered around.
God, this is Quake -10,001.
Oh yeah, this is just. Yeah, it's crap. He's flying around a really dull and very brown tube is no fun. And I couldn't find anything to do, just other than steer down tubes and switch between one of your three craft, steer down more brown tubes. I'm not going to say much more about it. Some games seem overly invested in attempting to, this whiz-bang 3D tech stuff, and this just doesn't do it very well. It's a poor man's Coronis Rift, Rescue on Fractalis, Quake -1, and it's got none of the interesting bits of any of those games. And it's just endless brown tubes to fly down. It's like exploring someone's intestine.
It is so much brown in this. I thought that other game, that Durell game that we played, was like brown.
Yeah, but this one, goodness, you just flying around. No one wants to explore that, and it's just down the crapper with this one. It's not tracker, it's crapper. It really is crap. And again, it does that thing of like, here's the game. There's no title screen.
No, exactly.
Clearly, there's. Because they've got no memory left. I don't know why they've got no memory left. Because I can't think all that brown takes up that much memory. It's just brown.
This is clearly a ship being flushed down the toilet simulator. So that's why you're going down all those tubes.
That's what it felt like. Yeah, you're just exploring the sewers, and it's just crap. This is what a tracker looks like after I've eaten it, and 2 days later it's popping out.
There ain't no pleasure in it, is there? There ain't.
There's no. Just only bits left of the nutty bits.
God, no.
And that's what this is, and that's what I think of you, Tracker. You are a nutty bit of a chocolate bar I ate 2 days ago.
And about as much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And you scratched me on the way out.
But I agree completely.
Oh, it's 15 quid. I would have been crying into my pillow.
It's blocky 8-bit piles if you've paid 15 quid for that. Goodness me.
Absolutely. You're going to feel that one for ages.
You are going to feel, honestly, you've got cuboid piles, pixel piles.
Absolutely. No soft edges.
Well, all those vector graphics are all very pointy.
Massively pointy. I couldn't even find any aliens to shoot in it. So there's supposed to be things to shoot.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're faster than you, so you might get a brief glimpse of one, but as it zooms off, it's like,
what were they called again? Cycloids?
Cycloids, yeah.
So that sounds like an anal problem as well.
It sounds like the kind of cream that helps with one, yeah. If you've got 8-bit piles, try cycloids.
Absolutely. You've got to be quick, though, to get that on the end of your finger and up there.
You need the applicator tool.
Yeah, it comes with a 60-page novella telling you how to use it.
And it's 15 quid.
Oh, that would be really good if the 60-page novella was just the instructions and it ended up with sort of thing with the guy just getting massive piles.
I did actually put a link to the instructions in the... it might be in my notes, actually. No, don't. I might put it in the show notes, though. So if anyone fancies reading the 60-page nonsense, because it is really crap, the story as well, it's hilarious. So it's worth reading just to go. Because clearly, instead of like remember in Starglider, it had this... I had another one that had a vector game that had another 80-page novella with it.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't written by that person. This one's written by someone else. And it's just kind of... I think they've just gone to someone and gone, we need a 60-page novella fast. And he's gone, all right. And the result is that. And it's worth just looking through it going... You read it going... What?
He sat down one night and got up the next day and gone, done.
Yeah, that's it.
Exactly. Have you proofread it? It doesn't need proofreading.
And there's just a dustbin full of tracker bar wrappers.
They were proper nutty and chocolatey.
Exactly,
back then
as well. They were enriched and engorged with nuts. Yeah.
What has a hazelnut in every bite?
No.
Not a tracker, anyway. It's a topic. Anyway, there we go. Crapper. 15 quid crap is all I can say. Let's end there. For God's sake. Let's end there. That's this section over. We'll be back soon where we will be talking about music for March 1987. So, stick around for a bit.
spoonfuls to our sponsor, davidhearnwriter.com, where you'll find bargain books, ebooks, and audiobooks. Let's hear a sample from his incredible audiobook, Starfarers and Tharnians in Space, narrated by the one and only Tim Valencia.
Poppy raised her voice. Navigation's offline. I'm trying to get the damage under control. Elvin, help me out here. Elvin was frozen. I don't want to die. I haven't even seen the new Atom Bender model yet. And I want to. She takes you to new places, the ad said. He wondered about that. Yes, she was a tempting mistress. However, there was some candy aboard this ship he'd never had the chance to get up close and personal with. The core of this ship was highly radioactive, but some things were worth dying for. Deacon snapped. Someone take the cannon. Poppy, turn that infernal thing off. Bo looked about, shaking his head. What cannon? It's gone, mate. Gone. Just like us. Last man in Gallagher, and we can't fire.
Wow, you've got to love it, right? Visit davidhearnwriter.com to find out more.
Are you keeping up with the Commodore? Yes, the Commodore is keeping up with you.
Welcome back. We're cracking in now to music in March 1987. So what was going on in the singles? We've seen this before, I do believe. Stand By Me is at number one for the first week. So we've talked about that. Yeah, the film and the Levi's advert. We know why it's there.
Well, yes, we know exactly why you're there, Benny King.
We do. What was this you put here?
That it was written by Benny King, Jerry Leiber, and Mike Stoller, who together, for some reason, used the pseudonym Elmo Glick. So it's Stand By Me, but it's actually written by Elmo Glick. But that's actually...
Good old Elmo.
It's just weird. There must have been some contractual reason or something, I guess, that they couldn't put their actual names to it, which is weird because it's Stand By Me by Benny King. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe there's some weird ruling.
It don't matter, does it? It's a 1961 song. Let's not. We're going
Let's
back.
Let's not go
further to the past.
Let's keep going.
Let's keep going because next week, well, the next 2 weeks was Everything I Own by Boy George.
It is
originally recorded by your favourite band, Bread.
They're not my favourite band. Though. That is a really good. That song is a really good Bread song. I have to
In
say.
1972. Yeah, is it? I don't know. I don't really recognise this song at all.
If you heard the 1972 Bread version, you would. As soon as you heard it, you'd be like, oh, because Boy George's version is actually a version of Ken Booth's 1974 reggae version. So it's not, the original sounds similar, but it doesn't have, obviously it's not reggae, so it doesn't have that kind of reggae vibe. But if you heard the original one, you'd be like, oh, it's that, because it's it's one of those songs that is you'll know it as soon as you hear it.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, I don't recognise the title, but if you say I know it, then I'll take your word for it. And yes, it wasn't a great time for Boy George, was it?
No.
If we were talking about this, he left Culture Club.
He had.
And that had all broken up, and then got done for because it was a big deal at the time, wasn't it, getting arrested for possession of heroin. I remember it being splashed all over the front of the red top tabloids.
Exactly. Did he not listen a word to what Grange Hill was saying? Just say no. For goodness sake, did he not watch what happened to Zammo? We all watched it. Boy George could not have been much older than we were at the time, maybe a bit, but he must have seen that. Didn't make any difference to him. Crazy.
No. Anyway, there you go. That's Boy George at the top there for 2 weeks. He was replaced 2 weeks later by Respectable by Mel and Kim, which was a single for 1 week. Yeah, we know. Calm yourself.
It's not just that. It's just it was such. I think the thing I would like to just, and obviously we've said about Mel and Kim before, and I'm a big fan of it, as I'm sure you know. However, I'm not going on about all the Stockache and Wortman stuff. The thing about this is just to remember that this predates all of their big Hit Factory stuff that they actually became kind of hated for. So this does predate that. So
I
it's
like
quite
Respectable, so don't worry.
Yeah, well, I was going to say it's good.
I think this is a great pop tune.
It is. It is one of the classics.
It is one of my. It is the main Mel and Kim song that I like.
Yes.
It's good. And then that was ousted a week later by Ferry Aid with their cover of Let It Be.
Aye.
And this was indeed in aid of the tragic capsizing of the MS Herald of Free Enterprise ferry, which killed 193 passengers and crew.
Tragedy.
That's when the back doors or something were left open and it flooded. Was it something or other?
It was a roll-on, roll-off ferry, and at that time the doors are obviously on a ferry that's essentially got a great big hole in it. With those doors open, I think the bow doors. I can't remember if the bow doors. One of the doors hadn't closed, properly, and so it flooded water in, and of course then the ferry rolled over, which those ferries would do in that instance. Once the water gets in, it's a disaster. Horrible it was. I remember it. All the fuss on the news about it, even as a kid. I remember, because my dad was obviously in the Merchant Navy at that point.
Yeah.
And and so he was absolutely horrified and outraged. He was the captain of had been the captain on many ferries, all different types, and he was absolutely heartbroken for the crew and outraged for that. It was a real tragedy, that.
Yeah, it was. It's one of those big things that happened, like Bradford fire disaster.
Yeah, absolutely.
Football field. It was one of those big disasters of the 80s.
It really was.
And yes, it featured a lot of people, didn't it?
It did.
The main people. I'll let you do the ensemble, but I'll do the main people: Paul McCartney, Boy George, Karen Woodward, Nick Kamen, Paul King, Mark King, Jackie Graham. Who's Taffy?
Dunno, but he's there. There he is, or she.
Mark Knopfler, Andy Bell, Pepsi and Shirley, Mel and Kim, Gary Moore, Kim Wilde, Nick Kershaw, Edwin Starr, Ben Von Pellier Pierrot, Ruby Turner, and Kate Bush.
Aye.
But the final ensembles featured a few more people.
Well, it's an ensemble, all right, isn't it? The Alarm.
Really is, yeah.
The Alarm are in there. John Altman. Am I right in thinking that's John Altman, TV's, whatever it was, his TV show presenter? Not presenter, but he was he was in downstairs, I think. Is that the John Altman I'm thinking of? Could be wrong.
Could be.
Anyway, you got Debbie Ashby, Al Ashton, Rick. I'm not going to read all this list. Bananarama are in there. Sort of Simon Bates made an appearance.
Pick out the ones that stand out.
Anne Diamond was in there. Difford and Tilbrook, Doctor and the Medics, your favourites, were in there. Gloria Honeyford made an appearance. Annabelle Lamb, Linda Lusardi, and Ruth Maddock. What a combo that is. Sue Pollard and Maria Whittaker were in there, and Alvin Stardust. Alvin Bloody Stardust was in there. I bet he had that big ring and the whatever it was. He did that stupid finger pointy thing. Or was that Elvin? I don't know. Anyway, Susie Quattro's in there as well.
I was going to say, yeah, and amongst all that is Susie Quattro next to Mike Reed.
Yep, the new Seekers were in there. Look, they were looking for the old Seekers. They were probably in there somewhere as well.
Probably under Ray Shell.
I like the idea that Bananarama were near Errol Brown. So that's chocolate Bananarama, really. Hot chocolate and Bananarama mixed together.
Yeah, hot banana chocolate. That's nice. I'd have that.
That was his next single.
It was not Downtown Fever. There you go. That's your number ones. What we got else going on? What's number one in the albums though? We've already gone at this because we've got the Phantom of the Opera is in the first week. It's original cast. Yeah, well, I'm not saying anything about it. I don't like it.
No, it was interesting that Richard Stilgoe was the co-writer of the libretto.
I found that bizarre. Is that beardy piano man from children's TV?
Yeah, from Finders Keepers, Losers Weepers, boo boo, him.
Yeah,
it was him. I mean, you would never have imagined that the Phantom of the Opera and him were in the same room, let alone he was responsible for the libretto of that. So weird.
No, you would not.
No.
But there you go. Replaced a week later by the very best of Hot Chocolate. And you've written again, you don't know enough about this band. You do know loads about that band now. I've told you.
I know more about it, but I didn't know they'd had at least one hit every year from 1970 to 1984.
Hence why I could do the chocolate or mocolate, And that was replaced for 2 weeks by the Joshua Tree by U2. This is I'm guessing this is their big break album, isn't it? This is their...
Yeah, I think it is. It certainly was the one that put them on the map in America.
What they had before then, they had War, October. Are they their albums? War in October.
You'd have to. That's a Google. I'm not the biggest U2 fan in the world. I have to say so.
No, I'm not. But I'm trying to think of some because obviously there was Sunday Bloody Sunday and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's before this, isn't it? So that's before Joshua Tree. So that's on Unforgettable Fire. Is that one of theirs?
Possibly. Let me have a look. Wikipedia to the rescue.
Well, this is their 5th album. So
yeah, it is. I'm just wondering. I'm sure they had albums called War in October. Oh God, why is this Wikipedia page so bloody long?
Because they've released a lot of albums.
Yeah, they did. There was Boy was their first one in 1980, October in 81, War in 83, The Unforgettable Fire in 84, and then this was the comeback with Joshua Tree, and then the next one. Well, it was these three really, Joshua Tree, Rattle and Hum, and Achtung Baby.
Yeah. And then Zeropa.
And then, Zeropa and Pop were the next two. But this was I think this was the first one that really took off massively.
Well, this is the one that produced the hit singles that I remembered U2 for.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without You, Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For, Was Streets Have No Name.
Absolutely,
yeah. Because apart from a few others, sort of thing, they were a bit, because 1984, they were still a bit punky and a bit on the wings by 1984. They hadn't punched through.
Yeah.
I think this is where they became big.
Well, this is the album that really basically launched because they got 2 number ones in the US off this album, and for a band of this type to do that means you've made it in the US. And then after that,
It is, yeah. Do you want to talk about The Edge?
well, I'd like just to have a little chat about The Edge because this album is frequently listed amongst the greatest albums of all time, and it's one of the world's most best-selling albums with over 25 million copies sold. But there's a debate, isn't there, around The Edge. The Edge, aka Dave Evans, is classed as one of the great guitarists of the world. In sort of whenever they do like a guitarist's top 10, The Edge is often either in the top 10 or mentioned, or and the debate I have is that there's one camp that sits with The Edge as this great guitarist and everything else, and there's another camp that says he just uses lots of echoey guitar effects and he's not actually that great a guitarist because everything he plays kind of sounds, certainly in this album, sounds very samey. So I think it raises it's an interesting question. Is he a great guitarist who uses effects, or is he an effects-led guitarist that's doing interesting things? I just wonder what your thoughts were on that, because I know where I kind of sit with it.
He's all right. I think he's part of the band, isn't he? He's just you wouldn't have U2 without him, sort of thing. Do I think he's a great guitarist? It depends what you class as a great guitarist. Do you class a great guitarist as someone who can go very fast?
Not necessarily.
Yngwie Malmsteens and all those kind of people who are technically great guitarists, sort of thing. Or do you class a great guitarist as someone who can write a catchy tune on a guitar that everyone recognises and supports the song that he's trying to write?
I think that's actually the better thing. You can have all the technical ability in the world, all the technical chops, and be the fastest shredding guitarist in the world. But if you're not playing the right thing for the music you're in, or the band you're in, and the music, then it's just, and we've actually seen that happen live as well. Do you remember when we've been in our history, we've been in battles of the bands where we've seen that happen right before our very eyes?
We have, yeah. And I mean, it would happen like 10 years later, or sort of 7-8 years later when, with Oasis.
Yes.
Noel Gallagher is not a virtuoso guitarist, but he knows how to write a tune that can stick in people's heads. And as much as I'm not a massive Oasis fan, I'm not going to ever deny the impact that Oasis had in the mid-90s. Was it 200,000 people at Nebworth and stuff?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And so I think I think anybody that can pick a guitar and write a tune that people remember, enough people, 25 million, has to go down as a great guitarist, I guess.
If you listen to the beginning parts of Where the Streets Have No Name, or With or Without You, those guitar lines, you remember them.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think, like you're saying, I think that's perhaps the important point, because I know that I'm not a fan of the Smiths at all, but there's no denying Johnny Marr is an incredibly good guitarist for the Smiths.
Yes.
And likewise, the guy out of Muse, and there's a number of others that maybe don't get the arpeggiated, shredded chops, but don't play that kind of way, and the music doesn't, if the Edge suddenly broke into a mad, crazy Steve Vai type solo, it wouldn't quite work, would it? So, but I think it's just an interesting question, because I noticed when I was reading through the various things about U2, because I say I'm not a huge U2 fan. I know some tracks off this album and a few tracks off some of the others, and I think I've got the Joshua Tree somewhere. I think it was issued to people of a certain age at a certain point. But I noticed as I went through some of the research for it that question crops up seemingly every now and again. There's a little debate on YouTube, or there's a little debate somewhere like the Edge. I don't know why people rave about the Edge so much. He's not this great guitarist. I wondered what your thoughts were on it. I did wonder if we could ask his brothers and sisters. That's corner, side, lip, rim, surface, vertex, and Linus O'Toole. But that's up to you to find out when you need to sort of track those down.
Linus O'Toole?
Yeah.
Oh, right, him. Yeah. I know him. He often pops around here. He comes around slinking about. Damn him.
Do you like the album, actually? We debated it, but are you a fan?
Well, Joshua Tree?
Yeah.
It's all right. It's okay.
I remember people at school were going mad for that album. It was heavy. Like, when they liked it, they really liked it, right?
I don't think it ever worked its way into my Walkman.
No.
So it probably isn't an album that I imagine. I don't know. Because I didn't have a lot of money at the time, so I think if my brother had bought it, I probably would have liked it.
Yeah.
But because I didn't probably get, I just didn't get access to it. It never stuck with me. So maybe my brother's responsible for that. Yeah. He's responsible for a lot of things, but you never know. That's for the judge to decide on. Finally, for this month, our number one album, we've got the return of a perennial favourite. Now that's what I call Music 9. Is number one for the last week. I was in Tesco's at the weekend, or whenever it was, and now 106.
Oh my lord!
I saw the CD for in fact, actually, the CD section of Tesco's should have just been called the Now section.
Pretty much all there is left.
There was different variants. There was Now Country. There was Now Hits of the 90s. There was a 5-disc Now 80s CD that was there. Like there was also now 80s 12-inch one as well.
That's bizarre. I mean, I suppose that they've got it. They must be on the niche hunt for nows. So it's not.
Yeah.
Now that's what I call insert really random thing. Now that's what I call Bavarian folk. Cool. I
don't know what, but they've got to be actually, but I was just looking through them, just going, what the hell? But yeah, literally all the albums are in the CD section were now albums. So the only people still releasing CDs by the looks of it. Everyone's gone back to vinyl. Weird.
Yes, I know it's gone. There's the big vinyl resurgence, isn't there?
It has, but they're all dead expensive vinyl now.
Yeah, and record
like
players
40
are
odd
crap.
quid.
It's to get a good record player, they're quite expensive to get, and then you just you're entering into this dark territory of audiophile world.
You are, yes.
So you mention record player to an audiophile and just prepare to be bored for the next 6 hours with talk of speakers, needles, weighted this, weighted that. So does it play records? Does it spin things? Got to put a needle on it, and does that emit sound from a speaker? I don't care if it's a 6.2 degree horn separation, blah blah blah. It makes no difference to me. I've played in a rock band for a year. You've played in a rock band for a while. I've been exposed to a lot of loud music.
My hearing is shot.
Yeah, the fidelity of the analog audio coming from that speaker is neither here nor there for me now. It doesn't matter. I lost my bloody top and bottom range millions of years ago. Playing a drum, sitting next to a drum kit, hammering it for a year will do that to you. You lose all of your bass frequencies, so it doesn't matter to me.
No.
So, but I've every time I've mentioned it, I mean, I've got a record player. I didn't mention it. I've got Gary, of course, is our friend of the podcast friend. He's very much into all of that. I would never mention it to him. It would just offend him. He'd probably just pick up my record player and smash it on the floor and go, "You arsehole, get a real one, not this toy thing."
He would. I've seen him do that at someone's house
I
as
can
well.
imagine. Yeah, imagine it.
Because he is an angry man.
They're collectors, they collect these vinyls. It must be weird for those people who've spent all that time collecting vinyl because they're like, we've got to keep the vinyl because CDs, it's this perishable media. So somebody's got to be the bastion of all vinyl. Now they're bringing it all back. It's like, oh, damn it. All our collections are worthless.
Yeah, this was my retirement fund.
Yeah, no, they're just making them again. They've opened the factories, they switched it all on. Honestly,
yeah. Don't know where they're getting all the vinyl from though.
Melted all the old ones down.
Yeah, some say he carved that album from a thicker album. They're just melting down all the Cliff Richard albums to make everything else.
The ultimate recycling. Yeah, if you listen very carefully, you can just hear the haunting ghosts of all the previous albums just playing through in the background. I can't because I don't hear that kind of fidelity.
No, just hear mistletoe and wine. Just in the background somewhere.
God, that's horrible.
I know you can have that and just drop that in every now and again in the middle of a review somewhere. That sample.
I'm going to do that.
I was going to say by the way, I never want a separated horn, which is word you said a few minutes ago, and it's been tumbling around my head ever since because it sounds awful.
If you actually want, and this is just a bit of advice. If you want actual speaker advice, don't go to somebody that listens to records. Go to somebody that has a recording studio, because they are experts in understanding the audio and things like that, and speakers and those things, and studio speakers, studio monitors they're designed to give all of that incredible stuff, and they know their beans.
Let me just stop you there for a moment, all right? I know all that, and I get all that, but you know that I'm going to get you, sucker.
Yes.
Because this, I would feel if I went and asked one of those people about that, I would feel like Chris Rock in that scene, putting my hand for a damn, because I wouldn't be able to afford what they were talking about, and I'd be like, you got anything for a $5?
Well, you'd be surprised. There are some good affordable solutions out there. I'd recommend Rocket G5s. Just saying. I'm not saying anymore because I don't understand the specs, but Rocket G5s are good because I've got a pair of them in my recording studio and they're fine.
I'll take your word for it. How much did they set you back? Can I get them for a $5?
Put him heavy down. They're about £300 for a pair.
Yeah, you see, that's like about £280 more than I want to spend.
Yeah, they're not really the kind of thing you'd have for just playing, music and video games and stuff. They're for proper studio monitors. So
right, yeah, well, there you go. Anywho, now that's what I call speakers. 1st of March, let's crack back. 1st of March singles, what we got going on? Oh yes, I'm the great Pretender from Freddie Mercury in at number 9.
Ooh, yeah.
Yep, originally a 1955 hit for the Platters.
Aye.
They were originally called the Plates. Originally called that the Saucers, the Cups.
And then they went back to the platters, and then we thought, no, actually, we can't do that because they were already the platters.
After that, they were called the Wide Ovals. Your Sunday Best. The Crockery.
The crockery, yeah. And then the not and crockery, yeah. Yeah, the willow patterns.
Yes, Mercury's music video for the song featuring parody himself in many of his Queen guises.
Yes.
Surely that's just a snake in its own tail.
It is a bit. I wasn't ever sold really on Freddie Mercury's solo stuff. I think there was one good song. It's A Hard Life, I think, is the one I quite like. But other than that, they're kind of because the daft thing is, if you listen to them and you look at the artists who recorded them, it's just Queen. So it's Brian May on guitar. It's what's his name, Taylor on drums, and it's just Queen. It's just not released under Queen, I guess. Some kind of contractual thing again.
Probably. At number 29 was the Moonlighting theme by Al Jarreau.
Aye, good old Moonlighting theme. Is that how it goes at all?
It's not. No, but this was the Sybil Shepherd Bruce Willis show.
It was.
And was a big hit.
Huge.
It was a massive hit. It launched his career, really, didn't it?
It did. Yeah, it really did. It certainly put him on the map.
Yeah, and this would lead to, obviously, some great films and then a dip in quality that he's never resurfaced from.
No,
Shall we say?
From the minute he made that sort of sleazy film with the multiple personality girl in it, I can't remember what it's called.
The Colour of...
Colour of Night, is it? Or something
Colour
like
of
that.
Night or something like that.
The one with the quote unquote sinner from Pinner in it, as the son called the girl in it, as I recall.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. It did remind me. It was because it was similar to like Remington Steele in a bit, in a sense, and that kind of mismatched. It was just another mismatched pairing, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, I didn't get it because I know that because Sybil Shepherd obviously was quite a well-established actress at this point. I mean, she'd been in Taxi Driver for a start, and I think some other things are just weird.
Yeah, it's just heart to heart. It's just those kind of. It's just another one of those male female double act Dempsey and Makepeace. It's another one of them.
Kind of. I mean, it played more on the kind of will they won't they, didn't it? This one heavily.
It did, yeah.
No, in a way that what was that?
Well, I think Remington Steele did as well, didn't it?
I don't remember much about Remington Steele. I remember Cheers just doing it because it was will it won't
Sam
be
and
Sam
Diane.
and Diane. Then it was Sam and whoever it was after Diane, Kirstie Alley's character.
Yeah.
So I guess it's based on that, but it's heralded as one of the great influential comedy dramas. Is Moonlighting?
Yeah, I can see why. It was very popular at the time.
Have they not heard of Juliet Bravo or The Gentle Touch?
Gentle comedies?
Well, I'm just saying, comedy dramas. I mean, there wasn't as much comedy in those than drama.
There weren't much comedy in Juliet Bravo.
I don't remember much
Certainly not
about
the
it.
Gentle Touch.
I don't remember. I just remember that sounding like the description of a toilet paper more than anything else.
Oh, the Gentle Touch.
The Gentle Touch, yeah. Soft, strong, and very long is the Gentle Touch. The Moonlighting theme, by the way, produced by Nile Rodgers.
Yeah, back to the song.
Yeah, no, friend of the podcast, Nile Rodgers. I don't know. He might be. I don't know. But,
Friend of a podcast.
Yeah, friend of podcasts in general. But I saw him on an interview recently. I think it was on Jonathan Ross. The guy's literally a genius and a really kind one. He donates a lot of money, his own personal money, into charitable causes all the time. Sets up foundations for supporting underprivileged kids from all sorts of backgrounds to try and get them into music. The guy's genuinely kind. And also an incredible producer throughout the years. So I think he just deserved a bit of a nod. And it never even occurred to me that Nile Rodgers would be responsible for yet more stuff that's out there. But there it is, right there. Moonlighting theme. Some walk by night. That one.
That's the one. There you go. That's the right one.
That's it.
Just underneath that, at number 30, was Allison Moyer with Weak in the Presence of Beauty.
Ugh.
You don't like this? I quite like this song. I don't mind this. I'm not a big Alison Moyer fan, but I don't mind this. Weak in the Presence of Beauty.
No,
That one.
I like Alison Moyer Yazoo, but I don't like this. And it's not even a song that she wrote, or it's a song originally by a group called Floydjoy. And I put the link in the notes for you to have a look at. So watch the original. It sounds exactly the same. And the only difference is that she recorded it shortly after they did, and knowing that she could make it a big hit. And then in the 2004 interview, she professed that she actually really regretted doing that because she hated the song and only did it for the money. And she classed it as one of the worst decisions she ever made. That and a song that came after it, I think. She actually hated the fact that she did it. But as I've mentioned here, it's as it was predicted in the ancient scrolls of Yazoo. So
I've read them for a while. I need to check up, see what else are predicted. I need to know the lottery numbers for next week.
consult the ancient scrolls of Yazoo.
Okay. I'd rather consult them than listen to the next song.
Oh, God.
Which is Watching the Wildlife in at number 37 by Frankie Goes to Hollywood. In the annals of crash and burn so quick it's almost, we've seen them rise and fall over the course of this podcast.
We really
and how far they have fallen, because this song is dreadful.
It's truly horrible, isn't it?
7th single from that album.
Yeah, mercifully the last.
Yeah, but that was it, wasn't it, for them? I think they were done.
Awful, awful, awful song. And it showed you, if you listen to that, and we'll put the link in the show notes like we do for some of these things, it shows you how far removed they got from the Trevor Horn sound, because that single is absolutely dreadful. And I mean, like, bad in a way because I totally tuned out of Frankie Goes to Hollywood at this point, knowing that album is crap and the singles have been awful so far. But that one, as a final hurrah for them, it's a tragedy because it's so awful. But we'll put it there so you can be the judge yourself, but you won't like it.
You won't.
No.
Can't blame us.
No,
Don't
sir,
sue
I
us.
don't like it.
Number 47 was Respect Yourself by Bruce Willis. He's back again. I remember my friend, I don't know if you knew him actually, a guy called Tim Barnum.
No.
He lived near you. He was a C64 guy. That's why I knew him.
Okay.
But he was really into The Return of Bruno, and he kept playing it every time, all the time when we were around at house. And it was like, stop playing this.
A strange
Dreadful.
thing to be into as a teenager.
I know, it was really weird. And yeah, so there was an album, wasn't there? It was like just a covers album, because he did Under the Boardwalk, didn't he,
He did
at some point. It was just crap. And it was just Bruce Willis
Oh, it's awful.
making bad decisions. But I imagine he made a lot of money from it. So by his choice, he got to just record some music. But this is a terrible song.
Well, it was a TV special, The Return of Bruno, that was then changed into an album. And then this single was released off that. The original hit was a 1971 hit for the Staple Singers. And prior to that, it was the... I was going to crack a crappy Staple joke then, but I really can't be arsed. The Drawing Pins. There we go. Drawing Pin Singers. There we go. But the strange thing is that his album has got Booker T. Jones, the Pointer Sisters, the Temptations. It's got a lot of like heavy hitting stuff on it. But I think it says more about that mega media Hollywood invested in their stars logic. So that, they create brand Willis and then exploit that brand into every media type that particular company, and I'm guessing it's one of the big companies at this point, so what would have become Fox or Disney or whatever, but where they take a brand and they create a thing and then they just literally push that into every single strand of media they can, so film, TV, music, and just hammer it until Bruce Willis becomes available in every format known to man, because it's the way maximum amount of marketing spend and dollars and to get your return on your investment. And I'm guessing this is the first time I think that we've really seen that with a Hollywood type star, where they've just released a really self-indulgent load of nonsense like this. Because the rest of them I think they've always been musicians or singers. I don't think there's been other film stars at this point. I don't think there has there?
Well,
I don't remember any.
I'm not sure about any. I mean, you could say William Shatner if you wanted, but if you go back, I suppose you've got your people like Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, they were singers before they were film stars, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So maybe he just saw himself as part of that.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, that sort of tradition.
Know.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that kind of that sort of thing. I don't know. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't know. But enough about him. If You Let Me Stay was at number 77 by Terence Trent D'Abbey.
All right.
And that's it's a song in it.
Well, it's the If You Let Me Stay.
Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah. Now, there's a thing about this, isn't there? Because I generally don't like songs like this anyway, but I don't like songs where, and Simply Red do this all the time, by the way, where the song starts and then they have like a spoken word bit. So this song starts with, drum beats, sweetheart, listen, I know the last few pages haven't been good for the both of us. And you get that kind of thing. Now, I would challenge the thing is to put a break beat down and then do that in a completely different, non-related accent, because he does it in like a kind of a sweet, sort of sexy, soul-y voice. But it doesn't have to be that way, does it? This could be done with a robot voice, or it could be done with, a great, really broad Yorkshire accent. So, sweetheart, listen, I know the last few pages haven't been very good for the both of us, and I've been caused you lots of grief. Put those bags down, okay, before you make a decision like that. Please, just listen to me, because I don't want you to leave. I definitely don't want you to leave. Just hear me out. So you could do it like that, or you could do varying versions. I think that it lends itself to that more. So I think that's the fun part.
That could have been a song that was sang by Jack Duckworth to Vera Duckworth in Coronation Street. I would have liked to have heard that version, if I'm honest.
Sweetheart, listen.
Or even better, Vera to Jack.
I might record a couple of versions to get remember the really gravelly voiced woman from Coronation Street? What was her name? Hey, Percy, love. That one. Sweetheart, listen. I don't know. No, I might do a couple of versions and stick them down in there for a goof. We'll see.
A goof, yeah.
I put a couple of links in there for some natural sort of online readers where they sort of create online versions, and you can put sort of humorous accented versions in. You can do that yourself. We'll put the text of that in the website for you to create your own little audio snippets. Stick them in Twitter if you can download them. That would be a hoot. Just, just for funsies. It's better than that
Just do
crappy
it.
song.
Yeah, you could do it if you want to.
Yeah.
Number 89 was The Telephone Call by Kraftwerk.
Aye.
I don't know it all.
Was you a fan of Kraftwerk by this point? Was you ever a fan of Kraftwerk? Because I wouldn't say I was a fan.
I don't think I was a fan. I was just appreciative, I think is the word.
Yeah, a bit mesmerising. When they first started, Man
the model
Machine
and stuff like that.
Yeah, Man Machine with Metropolis and the model and stuff like that. Yeah, I think
they're great tunes, but by this point it's become...
Well, this is weird, this one, isn't it? Did you check it out? I mean, it's the second and last single off Electric Cafe. The Electric Cafe's got, boing, bump, chat and all that on it. I don't know. I find this so far removed from that kind of minimalist sort of techno sound of Man Machine that it's just not quite. But if you listen to this and listen to the sounds, the synth sounds, eliding the sort of weird noises, the sounds themselves, they're heavily influential on all the C64 tunes that are coming out around this time.
Massively, yeah.
Really quite interesting.
No two ways around that. 8th of March, let's move on. Sign of the Times by Prince in at number 20.
Aye.
First single from the incoming album of the same name, but that would be his 5th album this year.
This week.
This week. He can't be stopped. Prince, stop releasing things. Yeah, it's a good track. Clever and supremely minimalist single.
Yep.
God, you've gone techno here. Using a Lin LM1 drum machine and a Fairlight CMI synthesizer.
That's all it uses.
And only uses the presets.
Yep.
Well, there you go. Whenever I used a synthesizer, it never sounded like this.
Yeah, you didn't have a Lin M1, an LM1, and a Fairlight CMI because
I had one of those ones you had to blow into.
Yeah, the Bontempi versions are not the same. It's a very
all I could ever do.
Very well crafted piece of synth pop is Sign of the Times.
I'd love to hear a version of this on one of those ones you had to blow into.
There's bound to be a version. You just got to get that oh yeah part right.
Or on a recorder.
Yes.
At number 24 is Tonight by Genesis.
Yeah.
Yes. Track 2 on the Invisible Touch album. What's this that happened at one of their concerts?
I was just saying that when they played this song at one of their concerts, it caused the Genesis effect, which had the unfortunate side effect of reorganizing all organic matter at the conference and where they were singing. Luckily, it created a magic cave full of apples, and I'll put the video all about it. You've seen a film, Star Trek: Wrath of Khan's all about it. The Genesis effect. So,
right, yeah.
So there's an entire speech on it. Yeah, it's what happens whenever they play a gig. Somewhere there's a planet gets rearranged organically. It's an unfortunate side effect. They just they never knew. They didn't know, but we know now.
Yes. Well, there you go. I'm glad I heard that. Number 32 was Severina by The Mission. Yes, it is indeed a type of pudding. Yeah. What do you want for tea? What do you want for your afters? Severina, Mum.
Severina. Have we got any Severina? I'll just get me a little hat and have a look. Is God's Own Medicine the album that you really do like, or the one that you're not really bothered about? I can't remember.
No, I do like it. Yeah, it's their first album. I like the first 3.
Because this is the most Sisters of Mercy one, I think, isn't it? Because obviously they get less, only because I'm not saying they're the same as, but I think it's...
Yeah, this is the closest. This is Jangly Mission.
Yeah.
This is the most jangly album. The one that's closest to First and Last and Always.
Yeah.
First Sisters album. Mission by Numbers. Severina's not one of my favourite Mission tracks. It's okay. No. It's all right.
But it is a delicious pudding, just saying.
It is a delicious pudding. Yeah, it was always that or cremola.
Oh, cremola. Not its lesser known tapioca or whatever it was called.
No, cremola. I used to love cremola.
Cremola rice, yep.
Lovely stuff. Lovely. At number 43 is What You Get Is What You See, which sounds by Tina Turner, not as I was going to expect by Meatloaf. Sounds like a Meatloaf track.
It does sound like a Meatloaf track.
What you get is what you see. You hear it. It is from the Break Every Rule album. Your mum and my brother are massive Tina Turner fans.
Thank God you finished that sentence off.
This was during the denim jacket, enormous hair phase. It's still going on.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's still
never
going.
Ended.
Still going strong, that look.
It can't be stopped. That denim jacket is so voluminous. It's gone beyond triple denim to all the denim. It's just sucking denim into it. It's so denim. It's where denim goes to die.
It is. It's like it's a denim hole.
Yeah, it is.
Like
and there was enough product on her hair that she was declared responsible for the ozone layer hole. And declared a state menace. She wasn't allowed to go in Wales for 3 years.
No, that she'd not allowed anywhere near the city limits of Nutbush. In fact, she wrote a song about it. It annoyed her that much.
I know. Where is Nutbush?
I don't know, but don't go near the city limits.
I won't, because I have to do that walk. Everybody, it just makes you do that walk as you get there. Makes the middle of your legs part and go farther apart. No one's thighs ever touch in Nutbush.
That's on the postcards, strange enough.
It is as well. It's a really wide postcard. What's Going On? The aptly titled track for that bit by Cyndi Lauper is at number 88. I didn't recognise this one at all.
It's a cover of the Marvin Gaye song, What's Going On. The very, very, very famous Marvin Gaye, What's Going On. You know, the stupendously amazing Marvin Gaye song. So she crows away through it like a rainbow rooster. Don't get me wrong. There's a time and a place for Cyndi Lauper, some of her stuff, but not this.
Not this.
And the video
like
the video for this is horrific. It's really bad. So again, we'll put the link on the thingy so you can judge it for yourself. But I just found she looked like a rainbow flavored rooster is what I put, which is true, I think.
Okay, March 15th. Let's crack through these because we've still got a lot to go. Let's Wait a While. No, Let's Not by Janet Jackson. At number 31, a song about abstinence.
It's totally abstinence, yeah. It's a very twee song about not doing it.
Fair enough. Whatever don't float your boat, Janet.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Ever Fallen in Love at number 46 by the Fine Young Cannibals. I'd hate this version. I literally hate it.
No, I agree. I agree with you. I hate it.
His vocals are not built for this song.
No.
Roland, whatever his face is.
Roland Gift should not be. Well,
Roland
the thing
Gift.
Because he sings with, I noted he sings with
in love with someone, ever fallen in love.
That's a good impression. He's got a squeeze horn stuck in the back of his throat. Like you get on them push bikes. He's got one of them, so whenever he sings,
yeah. It's the Springfield goofball.
Can you imagine he drives up to one of those drive-through McDonald's? Hello, could I take your order? Big Mac and fries, please. Sorry, what was that? Oh, sorry, is that Big Mac, did you say? Yes. Oh, okay, well, just go drive through the other window, for God's sake. Thank you. Just go.
Can you enter your PIN number? Oh, dear.
Large fries. Oh, sorry, Roland.
Do you have any alcohol?
Yeah, so I don't like that version, and it's not because he honks his way through it, although that doesn't help. I really like the Buzzcocks version. So why would anyone sing a version?
Cannibals version.
Yeah. Why would anyone do that when you've got the Buzzcocks version, which is kind of the classic? But I noted it's in a soundtrack for a film, which I'm guessing why it's kind of reappeared. So.
Yeah, it is. They got paid to do it, so fair enough. At number 68 is Get That Love by the Thompson Twins, and again there are 3 of them, so it annoys me.
The Thompson triplets didn't have the same ring, did it?
Well, they're named after the twins from Tintin, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
but there's 3 of them.
And they don't look anything like it.
No, they don't, because those guys look like wimpy.
No, exactly. And then, are they interfering, in people's business? Because that's what the Thompson twins did in Tintin, as I remember it.
Yeah, I don't know. They worked for. Yeah, they did, didn't they? Anyway, Blandcore, absolutely. Thompson twins were pure. We've just had a Blandcore double bill: Fine Young Cannibals and Thompson Twins, and a third one as well. I know you like Howard Jones, number 70. Howard Jones with a little bit of snow. Is he singing about heroin?
Yes, he is. He donated this song to the 1986 anti-heroin project. It's called A Little Bit of Snow, and the song is a really bleak sounding thing about a cocaine user that couldn't get high. Chirpy. If
it's about a cocaine user, why did he donate it to the anti-heroin project?
Well, exactly. It's all part and parcel of the don't do drugs message that was coming out of that. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I've paraphrased the lyrics. There's probably more to it than that.
I bet he met Nancy Reagan.
Oh, I don't doubt. Probably sang a song about her.
I have to watch this. I haven't yet watched this next track. But number 96, is When the World Comes Down by Magnum.
Oh, God.
Oh,
number 96, goodness, mate.
Yeah, it's got epic panpipes, has it?
Not only has it got epic panpipes, the opening salvo of that song is like someone hit the preset button on a Roland and Korg synthesizer in the 80s, and they just all went off one after another. Honestly, it's like it starts over the boo, and and then the shaku hatches, and then the and then you know, all of them sounds that as soon as you hear it, you're like, oh my, it's like listening to the beginning of every 80s movie around that time. So it's a little bit of Karate Kid in there, there's a little bit of, trust me, everyone, when we post the link, go and check it out. And apart from the fact you'll be mesmerised by the volume of panpipes that Magnum have put into a song. I didn't think it was even possible to do that,
No.
but they found a way.
They've always find a way. With or without, right, March 22nd, With or Without You by U2 is in at number 4.
Yeah.
That will go to number 1. We've spoken about them. Big Time by Peter Gabriel in at number 15.
Yeah.
I like Big Time. I like the song.
Strange.
All right.
I'm not a big Peter Gabriel fan.
Like I said, I'm more of a fan of his older stuff, his post-Genesis stuff. I really like.
The notable thing there is that the bassist and the drummer, they actually teamed up. So the drummer plays the bass percussively by hitting the fretless bass with his drumsticks. And he's quoted as saying that Levin handled the fingering while Marotta hit the strings with his drumsticks, which I thought reminded me of that moment in the film Alien Covenant where he says, "You finger and I'll blow." But when he's on about the pipes, but that's just me.
Yeah. Well, whatever, it created a big time. The classic, and at number 34 is the Irish Rover.
It
on
is.
The Pogues and the Dubliners.
Ugh.
And it is an Irish folk song, yeah.
Yeah.
Magnificent, though improbable sailing ship that reaches an unfortunate end.
It is.
Shane McGowan's a looker, isn't he?
Well, I made a note here that because he was obviously the Dubliners were from Ireland, the Pogues are a Celtic band found in London, and then they kind of formed together to do this sort of classic song. But Shane McGowan slowly over the period of the time that he was appeared on Top of the Pops and subsequently just gradually became a Fulci zombie, but who managed to retain the ability to order vodka. Because he just slowly but surely becomes a zombie.
Yeah, he does. He did. Oh, God bless him. At number 39 is White Snake with Still of the Night. And yes, that image is all you need to know.
It just honestly, it's just the default image from YouTube for the video, and it's just a close-up of David Coverdale's intense face and hair.
Yeah, he looks like the Beast from Beauty and the Beast without the application of makeup.
Yes, actually, yeah, it totally does, yeah.
He does. He could have just hired him for the part, and they would have saved, every week they would have saved loads of money on makeup. Just hire David Coverdale for those parts.
They would indeed. Famous, obviously, for the fact that it's got Tawny Katane in the video. She features in most of his videos. Anyone would think that he was proud to have her as his girlfriend, I think, or wife, maybe both. And Curiosity, I once DJ'd at a fashion show produced by and starring David Coverdale's goddaughter. Lovely person she was too. So there you go.
All right. Is Tawny Katane her real name?
It was. She's dead now. Yeah.
Well, no, I know. Well, she still has the name, but it can't be a real name. No one's called Tawny Katane.
Well, that was the name that she was. Whether it was what she was given at birth or whether it's what she became, I don't know. But that's how everyone remembers her.
Anyway, yeah, Heat of the Night in at number 54 by Bryan Adams. Okay, let's see if this works, because you've noted here, reciting these lyrics will empower me with Bryan Adams' turbo power.
Go for it.
Okay. I was caught in the crossfire of a silent scream where one man's nightmare is another man's dream. Pull the covers up high and pray for the morning light, because you're living alone in the heat of the night. Ooh. I feel empowered.
I can hear it. I could hear it in your tone.
Oh, man. Usual Bryan Adams guff. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Video standard guff.
Is he playing a guitar and wearing a body warmer or a leather jacket?
He is at a certain point, yeah, with one key light and lots of smoke.
Yes. Excellent. More bland core at number 99 was Wishing I Was Lucky by Wet Wet Wet.
Yep.
I thought it was their debut single coming in at number 99. That's why I popped it in.
Just as a note, listen to that if you do get a minute. Don't like it because you won't, but it does sound just like, it sounds like ABC, The Look of Love, but poppier. Same sort of vibe.
Right, okay. Last bit singles, 29th of March, La Isla Bonita.
Yeah, we've mentioned that before, I think. I don't know quite why, but we have.
Well, I think we've just spoken about it in regards to the album. So this is when the single comes out. We'll leave this one because we'll talk about it next month because it gets to number 1. Yeah. So we'll talk about it then. At number 22, Ordinary Day by Curiosity Killed the Cat.
Yep.
More blandcore.
Absolutely.
The previous band names were arguably more controversial. Clawhammer killed the cat. Napalm. Yep. My Cat killed the cat. And Boiling Water killed the cat.
Yeah. Lots of experimentations with different kind of cat death before they settled on Curiosity with them.
Yeah. I wonder if they've gone for a different animal. Curiosity killed the
dog.
Cockatoo.
Now that is probably something that would happen because they are curious little creatures, those cockatoos.
Absolutely. Curiosity killed, if they teamed up with Marillion, they could be Curiosity killed the catfish.
Yeah, or it could be, they don't have to kill, does it? It could be maimed or poisoned. Curiosity poisoned the snake.
Yes, it could be. Number 30 is David Bowie with Day In, Day Out.
I tuned out of Bowie by this point, totally.
Yeah. So. 17th studio album.
Yeah, at this point, yeah.
Never Let Me Down. Yeah. Who knows anything about this? I don't.
No.
At number 42, is Living in a Box by Living in a Box. You know that's just going to anger me, don't you?
Yes. Yes, because it's called Living in a Box, Living in a Box.
I don't mind an album by the same, even you're calling your eponymous debut album, that's fine. It's not a single. You can't call your single your same name as your band.
No.
That's all wrong.
Just Living in a Box, No, bland, core.
Yeah. Number 49 is Never Take Me Alive by Spirit Destiny.
Interesting track, that.
It is a really good song. I like Spirit Destiny. You've never listened to, you should listen to them. It's really good.
I've listened to some,
they're a good band.
but not lots. And that actually put me on a bit of a Spirit Destiny vibe, that re-listening to Never Take Me Alive. So I'm going to go back and visit more of their catalogue because I liked what I heard. I really liked the sound and the vibe they had in that. It's really good.
Yeah, it's Kirk Hammett, I think, is it? Is the guy? No, Kirk Brandon. It's Kirk Brandon.
Kurt Hamlet's from Metallica, really.
Metallica. He's Kirk Brandon.
Somebody like that, I think.
And it's just really good. I mean, Never Take Me Alive is really good. There's Radio. There's tons of really good stuff.
There is.
And so they were kind of always on the edge of the gothy sort of fringes.
Yeah, the gothy punk fringe. I think what another interesting factoid there is if you listen to that and then listen to the slowed down version of Jolene by Dolly Parton, which you can find on YouTube, where they've slowed it down properly. They actually sound very similar, and the slowed down version of Jolene by Dolly Parton is by far the best version of that track. So I definitely recommend you have a listen.
There was who did that? The slowed down version. Who did the really heavy version of Jolene? Now you've mentioned that. It was a band called Queen Adrena.
Okay.
There's a really good version of Jolene. I think it's by Queen Adrena.
Okay. I shall check it out.
That is good. Really heavy, rocky, good band. Fleetwood Mac in at number 70 with Big Love.
I'm not a fan of Big Fleetwood Mac at all.
I'm a big fan of this period of Fleetwood Mac. Rumours, Tango in the Night, Tusk. I love that period of Fleetwood Mac. I think they're just amazing. Just amazing 3 albums. I mean, there's 7 singles off Tango in the Night, I think.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt that.
And they're all ace. I love Big Love. There's a video actually. I'll put it in here. There's a live video of Lindsey Buckingham playing Big Love live on his own on a guitar. And you as a musician, and I know you are, you're watching, you go, now we were talking earlier on about good guitarists.
Oh, no, don't doubt they're technological. And
it's not that, just watch it play and it's singing, and it's just an amazing performance.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I just hate the band. I hate the music. I hate their music. But I dig the fact that they're liked. It's really not my thing.
Yeah, fair enough. Teenage Frankenstein at number 80 by Alice Cooper.
Yes.
The second single from the Constrictor album. Yeah. Written part of the horror film, the soundtrack to Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives.
It is.
Not quite sure what he was doing for the previous 5 films. Well, he wanted the first one, I guess. He was dead. Anyway. And finally, just to wrap up, singles, Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now by Starship at number 82. Yay.
You're a big fan of this song, aren't you? I prefer the other Starship songs, like We Built This City, but...
Yeah, but Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now is Mannequin, isn't it? Theme from Mannequin.
It is from Mannequin, yes. Sung, of course, by Grace Slick and Mickey Thomas, isn't it?
Yes.
She's an amazing vocalist, Gracie Slick, though. Really cool.
Yeah.
But this was written by Diane Warren, who wrote If I Could Turn Back Time for Sharon, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, produced and also written by Albert Hammond, or co-written, wrote songs for people like Celine Dion and Aretha Franklin and Whitney Houston. So it's got such chops, pedigree behind it. And then, of course, it's sung by the people of Starship, who, without going into the long, complicated, weird relationship between them and, there's direct connections between them and Jefferson Airplane, and then they became Jefferson Starship, and then they weren't allowed to use the words Jefferson and Starship, so they could, Jefferson Airplane, or something like that. So they ended up just being Starship at the end of it all. So
they did. And there we go. That's your singles. Let's crack through the albums. 1st of March, The World Won't Listen by The Smiths at number 2.
Compilation album.
I didn't listen.
No, a dreary, opinionated trip down self-loathing avenue. That's what I described that as. Featuring such classic B-side singlers, Why Did You Buy Me an Omelette? The Girl with the Orthopedic Shoe, The Record Player Is Broken Again, and The Man in the Tracksuit Has Died.
Seriously, that sounds like a Chris Morris routine.
They're not. I made those up. They're not real tracks off them.
Oh, right. That's how bad I thought they were.
Well, that's the thing. They could easily be. You could just have fun making up your own Smith songs.
Girls with the orthopedic shoe. The man in the tracksuit has died.
See, it's easy, isn't it?
Why
did you buy me an omelette?
When I wanted a courgette frittata.
The record player is broken again.
We have to listen to the radio, and the radio is all rubbish.
Can you think of? I can't think of anything worse than listening to a collection of the Smiths A sides, let alone a collection of the Smiths B sides. Goodness,
No.
what a depressing,
Bugger that.
bloody. God no.
In at number 93 was the soundtrack to The Mission.
Classic.
Now, I haven't just included this because it's called The Mission. It's because it's by Ennio Morricone, and it is a stunningly good soundtrack.
It is very much so.
I'm not a big soundtrack liker, as you well know. I'm not massive into soundtracks, but even I appreciate that one. It's bloody
Yes, I think every now and again, Ennio Morricone comes along and just shows you that he is a genuinely amazing composer. And just every now and again, it just and it just something like this just proof. I mean, there's so many films that Ennio Morricone is involved with. It's ridiculous, and we could to list them all now would take another an hour. We're not going to do that. But this one is an amazing thing. It's I listen to it very regularly because it's such great music and really uplifting. So really, really good.
It is. 8th of March. Number 8 was Wild Frontier by Gary Moore.
Aye.
His 6th solo studio album. I'm going to be honest, I've never really listened to any Gary Moore. I mean, I should. But...
It's not everyone's cup of tea. Kind of bluesy rock, really, but it does demonstrate how good a guitarist he was, if you like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. St. Julian at number 11 was by Julian Cope. Mm-hmm. Have you had a good read of his book?
I have read his book, The Neolithic Culture, and while I do agree that Mesolithic tendency for group hunting does imply that they were survivalists more than settlers, I simply cannot agree that they invented the hula hoop.
Well, someone had to, and they found fossilized hooping remains in burial sites by the sides of Neolithic kings and queens. So,
exactly.
Whilst I appreciate your viewpoint on the hula hoop origins, I think that he's got a valid point to say that maybe this is where it came from.
Maybe, but I appreciate his standpoint, but he's no expert. Actually, he is.
He is, absolutely, but not at the hula hoop.
No.
Number 15, Susie and the Banshees with Through the Looking Glass.
Another collection of covers.
Yeah, some odd choices.
There is.
Count it big enough for the both of us.
My Sparks, Trust in Me from the film The Jungle Book. Seems weird to do a cover of that.
Seems... Let's move on.
That's two of the less weird tracks on it.
I know. Let's look shiftily from side to side and move on quickly.
Yeah, let's just go. Okay, yeah, good idea. Right, move on.
15th of March, straight in at number 1, was the Joshua Tree.
Yeah, we've discussed that.
Yeah, we've discussed that. Keeping out Simply Red at number 2.
Thank God.
An apt place for them to sit with the Men and Women album.
It's weird.
What's that? He's melted.
Yeah, age has not been kind to our friend Mr. Hucknall. No, considering he was such a a woman magnet. He started out in a punk band called the Frantic Elevators. Did Mr. Hucknall, and then later down in Simply Red, he's famous for the quote unquote, describing Simply Red as quote unquote basically a solo project. That kind of egomania really pissed off his fellow bandmates. Turns out, would do that, wouldn't it? Anyway, it's now gone from being Simply Red, this woman attractive crazy thing, to just Simply Bread as a place where you can buy sandwiches. And insert then some bread-based song puns. I've got some there to start you off. Another one bites the crust. Girls just want to have bun. Bake on me.
None of these have anything to do with Simply Red.
No, but they're Simply Bread.
Simply Red songs. Okay.
Simply Bread's... Oh, come on. Simply Bread, look.
Okay. Is a poppadom a type of bread?
No.
Oh, you can't have poppadom preach then.
No, we can't have that. You got to be bread-based. Honestly, if don't let it sink in, and then as you're talking about the things, they'll start. I know what'll happen. Your brain will start to feed them to your mouth.
I won't let the bun go down on me.
Exactly, I told you. They'll start. I sat on those three. Just came to me immediately. So, and I was like, I had to stop thinking I could be here a week.
Bapper don't preach.
See,
Bap don't preach.
It's honestly, it's just they'll keep on coming. So
that is la bun eater.
A bun eater.
Yeah.
See, that's it. I knew that's how it works. The best way is to plant the seeds, and then the loaf will bake.
Carb on me. If you're not baked.
Told you.
And I need more proving.
Proof is in the heart. Yeah.
Proof is in the heart. Yeah.
Right, quickly move on. Otherwise, right. The machine once it started, it cannot be stopped.
Once you start baking, you have to wait for it to rise.
Exactly. The challenge for our listeners, of course, is to feel free to Twitter, chip in, and our Patreons. Feel free to just pop a few of your own, pop a few of your own. simply bread-based album song titles. You might find they'll come to you like they do for us. Quickly move on, Aid. Quick. Paul Hollywood's probably twitching somewhere.
Icicle works in at number 28 with "If you want to defeat your enemy, sing his song."
Good title for a track. I like the title of that.
It's weird. That's why I included it. Icicle works is from a sci-fi story. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I don't know much about them as a band though.
No, I don't either. 22nd of March is "Running in the Family."
Yes.
Bunning in the Family by Level 42.
Yes.
The return of the Glonk, indeed.
Yes. We received a text message from Mark King. We had to translate that message from his native slap-based language, of course. And we'll post the original text message that we sent, but it's kind of on the zip, but it translates to ZTTP. Please stop implying my thumbs are too powerful. They are just quite strong. Though this is the 9th mobile phone I've smashed for this message alone. Also, my favourite meal is chips. I didn't even ask him. Cheeky bugger.
Oh, I didn't either.
The last statement, by the way, if you notice in the original slap-based language version, the last sentence is "ang defang me ting tang chim," which actually it does sound like my favourite meal is chips. So I'm guessing that's a more literal translation of the slap-based language.
It is, yeah. Good job we had the translator. Google Translate is amazing. The fact that he can even translate slap-bass into English. You just feed it in, and Google knows.
That's now become his first language. It's just terrible for his family.
Getting him and Roland Gift at the drive-thru for McDonald's is just a nightmare. Can you get your passenger to order, please?
Yeah. Terry, Terry, can you understand what they're saying?
It's Gift and King.
It's Gift and King again. Oh, they'll have the same days they always have. 2 vanilla milkshakes and a packet of crisps.
and give him 17 straws because he breaks it with his massive thumb.
And don't anger him, for God's sake.
Absolutely. Last time he put his thumb through the chip and pin machine.
But that's how Roland Gift laughs when he's out there. Like honk laugh. A bit like, what's his name? That comedian, Jimmy Carr.
Oh, dear. Roland Gift. He's the gift that keeps on giving. 29th of March, finally, straight to number 1. Now that's what I call Music 9.
Yeah.
And at number 49, nobody releases an album when now music comes out. At number 49 is Signs of Life by the Penguin Cafe Orchestra.
Yeah, quirky, weird little offshooty thing. Famous for a couple of tracks. You'll even if you don't know what Perpetuum.
The only one I know that didn't they do?
Yeah, that's the other one they're famous for.
That's the only one I know.
It's the telephone one, isn't it? But you would do because it's on all of the HP adverts.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Yes, I do know that one. Herb Alpert, just for you there at number 96 with "Keep Your Eye on Me." Because if you don't, he'll steal stuff.
True. It's got the tracks Diamonds and Making Love in the Rain, both which feature Janet Jackson. Interestingly enough, with Mark King speaking slap bass, Herb Alpert speaks only in native trumpet. So if he's the passenger in the back, it's like, well, look, we can't understand you, Mark. I don't know what Roland's saying there. It was that in the back. Oh, just move on. Go somewhere else. Go to Starbucks.
We'll just give you some food.
Yeah, here's a bag full of stuff, free stuff. Now piss off.
Leave us be. Sorry, you need to use the chip and pin. No.
No. You Tijuana twats, get lost. That'd be ba 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 ba.
Honk.
Yeah.
And finally, to round off this musical cornucopia of delights, we have the Vienna Symphonic Orchestra with Symphonic Rock.
Oh, goodness me. Did you check it out?
I haven't. I need a shower. I went through a period in the late 80s where there was a lot of this symphonic rock going about, and I listened to loads of it. I used to love it.
I know. We used to write sympathy cards all the time for your musical taste.
I just couldn't help myself. It's just stupid songs played by orchestras, and I was like, I love this.
I know. But, Rondo aficionado, whatever it was, buddy.
Yeah, Rondo Veneziano.
Yeah. You remember extolling their virtues, and I remember writing a condolence card for your musical taste there and then. We're so sorry for your tragic loss.
It was brilliant.
Now, in all fairness, some of them are interesting. Not this one, though. When you go to the YouTube and click on that,
we'll have a look.
The horror of that musical abomination will actually make you want to go to the toilet, and then you'll need a shower. It's dirty, horrible music.
Is it tracker music?
Oh, it's bad. It's bad. It makes Jeff Love and his orchestra like geniuses.
Well, only went in at number 97, so I'm not sure it got much higher.
It's too high.
Anyway, that's it. That's all they wrote for the music for March 1987.
What's that, Roland? I need to go to the loo. Oh, well, go on then. Go. Oh, wait. Don't you join in.
I need to go because Mark keeps making deep bass noises. Anyway, we've ended this. We have to end. We have to stop this music
It
section.
must end now.
And there we go. So please, if you're still with us,
I'm sure you will be.
I understand if you're not. But if you're still with us, we'll be back very shortly. Where we got 4 more games left to go through to round off this episode. So stick around. We'll be back in a bit.
Doffing of our caps to our show sponsor, DavidHearnWriter.com. Let's have ourselves another audio sample from his super cool audiobook, Starfarers and Tharnians in Space, narrated by Mr. Cool himself, Tim Valencia.
You're galactic pirates? I prefer the term self-philanthropists. A white, bulky, tubular droid on wheels with eyes like cherries and enough lights to double as a Christmas tree whizzed by with a rattle and crashed into a wall. Wright said, "You'll have to excuse 128. He needs a service, ironically due to lack of use. Seized up, I'm afraid." 128 bounced off a wall, recovered, then accelerated into Deacon's behind. Bo laughed out loud. "You've got goat droids!" Deacon fired a dirty look at the droid. "More like a white elephant, I'm afraid."
Wow, that is great stuff indeed. Visit DavidHearnWriter.com to find out more.
Are you keeping up with the Commodore? Yes, the Commodore is keeping up with you.
Yep, we're back. We've got 4 games to get through in this section for your first load of games for March 87, so let's get into them. First up is a budget title. What do I say about this? This is a game called Pneumatic Hammers, which sounds weird. It's a weird title for a game.
It's a weird game.
It's a strange game, this. So here we are in budget land, and for some reason you've been sent to rebuild a handle from handily lying around bits of, as the old one has fallen off a big machine, and if you don't, then bad things will happen. The canyon will collapse that this machine is in, and the pile driver will be buried.
No one wants that.
What? I'm not sure what this means. It sounds bad, and it must be fixed, and you are the person to fix it. You are the man for the job, the person for the job. So this weird set of options starts off. The game starts, you land on top of the machine in a helicopter, and you have to select from some options that vary the difficulty of the game. Now, this suffers from that annoying thing that some games do, which I never understand the reason for, which is switching between the options on the fly, and you just have to hopefully press the button at the right time.
Bloody annoying, wasn't it, that?
Stop doing it. We had this in another game as well. At least this one was clear which one was selected because there was always 3 options. There was that other one where it was just red and yellow, like which was the one selected. I think it was the beginning of that samurai game.
It was
Shogun.
Yeah.
Shogun. This is the same thing. You can, I don't know, the time in between the things going up and down. There's the number. There's just stuff. It always seems to do things. I don't know. So the whole point of this game is that once you disembark on top of this big machine, there are various floors to go down, and you go down these by climbing into a lift. The lifts just go down and go up. That's what they do. When you can climb off the lift at any point on any floor. At the right of each floor is a doorway. When you walk through a doorway, it just instantly switches to the machine that is in that room, and basically what you're presented with is a graphic representation of a screen, and usually a giant hand and some things to try and poke or prod at or lift or press. And I didn't know what for. I didn't know what did what. I had no clue. There was things to press and prod and poke and stuff. And really, that was as far as I've got. It took me ages that you had to move the hand all the way back over to the left of the screen to get out of it, because I was stuck in there for ages. I thought the game had crashed. Some screens I couldn't do anything on. And according to the review in Zapped, it said you've got to be real pixel perfect on where you click. So I found that maybe that was the problem. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. because you've got to pick up all the... Essentially, what you've got to do is find this gold, get it into the smelter, make it into a handle, and stick it on. And that's it. I don't know. I couldn't figure anything out. I didn't know what the machines did. At one point, I picked something up out of one of them and wandered off to another room, but I don't know what I'd picked up or why. I don't know what the dials or buttons did. Some went up, some went down, some made a noise. The visuals, they're okay, I guess. The person wandering around is all right. The lifts and stuff, they look what they're supposed to, I guess. The dials and things are all right. The sounds are really industrial-like, so there's lots of industrial type noises that you get, lots of banging, clanking, and whirring, but in that 64 8-bit style. And then there might be an interesting game here in that it's doing something different. I've certainly not played anything like this. Not really, but I had no impetus to find out what everything does because there was no help. Just a bit of help, just to sort of say what does what, maybe. And I just got quite frustrated after a while and just turned it off. I didn't understand what I was supposed to do, where I was supposed to get stuff. There was a bit at the bottom where I could pick up a box and move it left to right and put it down, and I don't know. Did you get anything from this? Did you manage to make head nor tail of this, or any kind of sense from the whole thing?
A little. So you've got to navigate, as you say, to find the gold. On the left and the right hand side, the gold rocks tumble down, and the amount of gold that's in that side of the cavern is represented by a tiny little number in the left and right hand corner. So you get like a 3 and a 4. So then what you've got to do is you've got to go and get your metal detector, go all the way to the bottom, jump carefully across the platforms, which are being where the pneumatic hammers are smashing things down to get to
I went to the bottom. I couldn't find any platforming bit.
Yeah, see, when you go right the way to the bottom and go right, you go out and you know when you see on the map at the bottom of the screen, you can see where the little...
Yeah.
You have to jump across. You get to the stage where those hammers are... You've got to jump across the
weird.
platforms. However, you've got to be absolutely graphically perfect and timing perfect to do that. Otherwise, you fall in the water, you go back to the site, and you've got to keep doing it. Remember, you're on a time scale because gradually the cliffs keep collapsing and you don't necessarily get the gold. And that's not even the worst of it. If you do find the gold and you do get some, you've then got to go and get the right purity of gold. So you have to go and weigh it on this like weird weighing scale in order to then go and smelt it. But you've actually got no way of understanding what is good and bad. It's so vague, the controls, and so vague what you've got to do that it's... I mean, I only really found that out by more trial and error and a little bit of looking on some of the instructions that I could find online where people had sort of said, oh, you've got to do this, so piecing bits together. I didn't persevere with it because I found the controls so overly fiddly and not very responsive. Yeah. And it's too many moments where it's not clear what you need to do. I mean, when it first starts, after you'd selected your options, if you didn't know that you needed to walk behind that thing and go into the rooms, you could be just wandering around left and right on that platform for ages trying to get in and out of the helicopter, not really understanding what's next. Mm-hmm. So it's $1.99. It only got 58%. I can see why. I think it's just too vague a game. A really weird idea that with a little bit more guidance might have been quite interesting. But I don't also understand, even if I did know what I was doing, what the payoff is, really. So it just felt a bit weird. Yeah. And like you say, that silly rotating through your options thing, instead of just using a joystick that goes up and down and a fire button, seems ridiculous. So
yep.
No. I've just found it a boring, frustrating game at the end result. So not for me, that.
No, not for me either.
Graphics are okay, I suppose, but other than that.
Yeah, I mean, the visually it looks quite nice. It's quite unusual and stuff. It just needed a bit more player, understanding. Like, tell the player what this does.
Yeah, just an idea of what the end goal is and how to get there is always a useful thing on these games. Because trying to find on a game that's so obtuse like that, trying to find your way through it is next to impossible. If you didn't know you needed to find a metal detector, you'd spend forever in that game wandering around doing nothing.
Which is what I did.
Yeah, terrible.
Soon turned it off. There we go. Pneumatic hammers. Weird. Just weird. Let's move on. Probably better than the next one. Graham, did you want to tell us all about Raid 2000, which sounds like a bug spray?
Yeah, it does actually sound like a bug spray. If I have to, yeah, I'll tell you about it.
Please do.
The Zandithian have invaded the Earth and are slowly spreading over the countries and cities and taking control. You've been tasked to destroy the invaders in 4 raider crafts from a base in the South Pacific. So you've got to look at the map of the world with the purple areas under alien control and the green area still under human control. Move a radar craft over an invaded part and it'll tell you if there's an alien reactor plant and it's still active. When you've selected that, the game goes into a top-down kind of shooter, a la Parallax and Z and Mutants, that kind of view, which scrolls in all the different directions. When you move your ship, the speed of your ship is controlled by the joystick in a kind of fiddly way.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I found myself zooming fast and slow and rotating and not really controlling this. I have to say, I didn't get to grips with the controls properly. So the idea is you've got to find the reactor and destroy it before destroying all the ships that are in the area with the laser. If you touch a ship or hit an obstacle, you lose part of your health. And if it reaches 0, you lose a ship. If you want to leave the screen before it's all destroyed, you can fly over a flashing square and press the button, and that will take you back to the map. That's the plan. As you play all the areas, the purple areas expand as the aliens take over more of the world. So if they're spreading too fast, each one of your raider craft, handily enough, carries a thermonuclear device, and that can place the invaded area, and the yellow turns yellow and wipes out all the aliens and the reactors. But the affected area can't be inhabited by humans if you do that. So there's a little bit of a strategic element, which is, I like some of the ideas in this game, I have to say, some of it.
Yeah.
Once all the aliens have been sent back, they regroup and attack again, but you receive a full complement of raidercraft, and so it sort of goes in that kind of loop. And if you lose all 4 of your raidercraft, well, the game's over, the world gets taken over by aliens, and you lose bad. So I found it was a clearly Z-ish sort of, and it's unfair to say that it's like Z. It's just that kind of 360 top-down shootery inspired thing. And I found the most difficult thing about this, because I like some of the ideas in here, and I like the idea of this sort of risk-based take over territories, and I like that idea, and I really like the idea of having, if you nuke this area, that's going to kill everything, but you can't, that kills it for you as well. There's some little nice ideas in there, but what you end up with is unfortunately, because the controls are a little bit, I think, not quite well realised enough, and it controlled kind of badly. It did for me anyway. I found that the background and the sort of crappy spaceship graphics, some of the graphics are a bit clashy and they're a bit uneasy on the eye. So there's an uninspiring. There's some good ideas in this, but an otherwise graphically uninspiring world. I suppose it's passable, is the best I can say. But there's better games like this, and I think if you're going to play this kind of thing, you're probably better off going and spending the equivalent money on something like Parallax or something like that, where you're going to get a little. It's the similar kind of logic as in you're in a top-down world, flying about, getting out, walking around, doing stuff, and there's perhaps a little bit more different kind of logic, but it's better. This, I think, great ideas, just not all the implementations are 100% behind it, so I felt like it just wasn't there, and 56% review is about where I would have put it as well, so what about you?
Yeah, ironically, once again, we're in complete agreement. It's another 360 scrolling shmup that sees you defending the Earth from invading aliens. There's a nice attempt at strategy here with the world map split into 32 chunks, allowing you to decide where to go to fight off the alien horde, and I like that. Like you said, that stuff around the edges, there's some nice touches. Once you do, though, and you get into it, it's a mashup of Parallax, Z, Time Pilot, with a splash of Iridium thrown in as well, with the way that the mines kind of come out there.
That's the one I was trying to think of,
I mean, Time Pilot is the original of these, I think.
Yeah.
The original sort of 360-degree scroller, but there's also a bit of Parallax in this. There's also a bit of Iridium in the way that the enemies come out of the the sort of the mines. The mines, the way they came out reminded me of Iridium. But it's not really as good as any of them in that respect, and that's a bit of a shame. The control of the ship is weird, like you've noted, with it speeding up and slowing down in an unpleasant manner. I didn't like it, and it leads to huge turning circles.
Yes,
which is a pain in the ass because it makes it really hard to aim at anything with any kind of accuracy. You end up off angle. You kind of have to keep. It's just no, I didn't like it. The aliens also took just a bit too many bullets to shoot.
Yeah.
So you because it was hard to shoot them, they took too many. And so, it should just be one bullet. Just one bullet takes them down. Just get on with it. There's enough of them to shoot. Don't make me do 2 or 3 hits on them. And so there's nothing really satisfying about it, which is a bit of a shame. Because like yourself, like you said, I like the overarching map and the stuff and that kind of nuclear bomb threat and your choice and your options like that. It's quite nice window dressing, but just the underlying game is one we've played better versions of before.
Yeah, I have to agree.
And so it's a bit of a shame. But tenner is a bit pricey for this, I think.
Yeah, budget price. I'd have been a bit more forgiving, I think.
I think so. Yeah, there's a good core idea here, but it's like we said about that other one, Star Soldier. If you're gonna do something that's been done better and you're just gonna muddy the waters or do something else around it, that's fair enough. But your core game has still got to be good and has still got to stand up to those other games which are doing it better than you're doing it.
Absolutely.
I mean, Z. When did Z come out, or Z, whatever? It came out
quite a while ago now.
That's 1985, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's 1985, and Time Pilot is well old by this point because I think there's Space Pilot and stuff by now.
Yeah,
in the arcade, I think
Absolutely.
there's Space Pilot. So these are this and don't forget after that we've had Parallax and things like that. So we've had loads of these kind of things, you've got to, like we said the other week. I mean, this is not as bad, but what's that? Psychastria. If you're gonna do these things and you're gonna come after the good stuff, you've got to be better.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the point?
Or offer something new. Yeah.
Yeah, and the new stuff here is fine. But then you still your underlying game to play is not as good. So Raid 2000, interesting, but a bit of a limp
letdown.
attempt at this thing. Yeah, a bit of a letdown. Could have been better. All right, 2 left. Let's rattle on through. Well, maybe we'll rattle on through the next one. I don't know. Let's move on. Because we've got another episode, another helicopter flight sim appears. And this time we have Tomahawk.
We do.
So this is another helicopter flight sim, and it's full-on vector graphics.
Yeah. Isn't it
Black
just?
vector graphics, not just white, black. So this time you get to pilot the AH-64A Apache Advanced Attack Helicopter. Sounds cool, doesn't it?
Very.
Sounds really cool. Yeah, okay. And once you boot this game up, that title screen is not cool.
No, it's not.
It's a bit. It's not the most enticing of title screens I've seen.
No, it is not.
It's a bit on the dull text side. There could have been some meta. Anyway, there's lots of options. You can go. There's four different missions. You can go from training to a full-on invasion to fight off. You could. Did you go through most of these? You can choose whether it's day or night. You can do whether it's clear or cloudy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous volume of options in this.
the height of the cloud base from 50 feet to 1,000 feet, I think it was. You can turn on crosswinds, and you can also alter the difficulty level from trainee pilot to an ace. Okay. Once you've done all that, once you've picked your mission and your crosswinds and all that crap, it's into the world of blue, green, and black vector graphics.
Exciting.
It's one of them. Yep. As you try and fly your slow-moving attack helicopter around the world and shoot stuff. It's a bit slow, this.
Yes.
There's not really much for attention to pace. And God, those controls.
Complicated.
They've gone... So the attention to detail is quite good. The HUD's okay. And they've really, really gone out for the controls. There's a lot of keys to press and a lot of things to be looking at and things to follow, turning and stuff. You've got to wait for this to be at this point to take off from that point, and don't push too far and get your speed and all it. It's fine. I get it. You want to make this kind of sim, but I think they made this point in the magazine, and it's true. The machine's just not capable of doing these games justice.
No.
You're pushing too much, and so you just lose any sense of actually flying as this cool advanced attack helicopter, because you're not. You're just not. And go play Ace. Which I know is a plane, but hey-ho, it's better. It's more fun than this. I found it quite funny that... Did you play it at night?
No, I don't believe it.
Well, if you play it at night, it's just black. And then what I did was I set the cloud cover to the lowest setting, and as soon as I took off... So, because what you get is you get the classic Dam Buster style view. Instead of yellow dots, it's red dots.
Right.
So everything is shown by red dots just all over, but it's just completely black. So no blue and green, it's just black. I set the cloud cover to the lowest. As soon as I took off, as soon as I got any height, just everything disappeared. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do now? Because I can't see anything. It's just a black screen. I'm not quite sure what... Yeah, and then every now and again, I thought I must have been getting attacked because these crappy explosions started going off around me. It's utterly pointless. Really, well, this serves no purpose. There's no fun in this. And I just found it a bit... It's just another one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sure, there are people who like playing these kind of things and love the thrill of piloting an 8-bit helicopter. But those people... I am not one of them.
No.
And I'm just not. And we've got next month in April, obviously, we'll see how Gunship stands up. I don't know. I was never a massive Gunship fan because I only had tape, and there'll be a discussion around the tape version and the disc version around that, obviously. But Tomahawk, as it stands, it's just, if you want your 8-bit vector helicopter kicks, then I suppose it's all right. But probably go play Super Huey, I guess, or Super Huey 2.
Yeah.
Which are probably better. I don't know. You didn't play Super U 2, did you? But how did you find this? Did you find this?
No. Well,
Axie type thing okay?
I mean, I'll start off by saying that I knew this wasn't going to be my thing. I knew it. I don't like vector games. I'm not a big fan of simulators. And this one is a really heavy, proper heavy controlled flight simulator. So you've got to really... Just looking at the controls inside of the instructions that come with the game, it's very complicated. There's lots of keyboard commands to type in. You've got to get this meter to that before you can engage this and do all of that. And as I read through that and engaged in some of this and managed to take off and hover and just do a couple of little things, there was no thrill in it for me of doing that. But I thought to myself, there are people out there that would really like that, I'm sure. And this kind of thing must appeal to them. So they sit there and they like the fact that they're typing in these 2-letter commands and they hear the engine start and all of those things that make this simulator, fodder for that kind of mindset. I think the only thing that they must be really patient people who like that. And then when the game starts, these vector monstrosity sort of unfolds itself upon their eyes. Because I know that late down the line, Gunship comes along, and I don't remember Gunship being, turbo speed or anything like that. I just think that these games are clearly better on other machines. I think that the machines that lend themselves, BBC Micros and your Spectrums, and I think these Vector games just lend themselves, even though those machines aren't super powerful, they've just seemed to do this Vector stuff better. And so this sometimes I wonder if there's an audience for these things, I think is what I'm trying to say, and I'm not that audience. I get that there's some technical dexterity on display in terms of how well they've created a version of a helicopter inside a Commodore 64, which I can only imagine is very difficult. But if the end result of that is just a few, monochromatic lines going up or down, and that has no thrill for me, I don't suddenly feel like I'm in a military-based, theatre of conflict, firing rockets at things and getting into that. For me, it just feels like I'm looking at some lines that are periodically juddering around, and I can't ever seem to get past that with these Vector games because that's really all there is to it. So, no, not for me. It got 3/4 of the way to good, didn't it? 74%. I get why it got that, but for me, another dull flight simulator with complicated controls that I would never tune into. So I'm tuned out before I tune in. And I did try it, and I did take off, and I did, do a couple of things, but I didn't feel like I was flying a helicopter, for goodness sake. So I'm out.
Yeah. It is what it is, isn't it? We're never going to be enamored to these things. The machine's just not. I mean, if we come down to the Commodore 64, it's a hardware sprite. They gave you hardware sprites.
Yeah.
Make games with sprites.
Yeah. It's based around a certain type of arcade mindset. And there's a reason why you didn't see a lot of helicopter simulators in arcades. So they tend, sprite-based shoot-'em-up type games are very popular for a reason. And as we've seen, they're not always great on the 64, but it certainly does those. Even the bad ones are better than some of these really dull Vector-based games we seem to be having a bit of a rebirth of at the moment, I have to say. So
I know, an annoying rebirth of.
Just a bit.
Right, anyway, there you go. It's Tomahawk. We were never going to like it.
No.
So, sorry, we're just not. It's one of them things. You know us by now, we're not.
No.
So let's move on to our last game of this week, and then that's that. So, Graham, you've got the honour of talking to us. This is an old game, is it? This is a re-release. It's a Falcon Patrol 2.
It
From
is.
helicopters to planes.
From helicopters to planes to Harrier jump jets, in fact. This is a budget release of the 1984 game from Steve Lee. So in this game, you're in the version of the Middle East, for want of a better description, in a Harrier jump jet, and you've got to fight off lots of helicopters. There's 3 different enemy helicopter types: gunships, solos, and transporters. The gunships and solos will track you and shoot at you. The transporters, and I have to say there's some really nice little touches to this, the transporters will drop ground-to-air missile and radar jammers on the ground, and you've got a little radar. And if they're there, it blocks it. And so you've got to try and deal with them. But also, you've got to deal with the things shooting at you. You can fire missiles either straight ahead or angles down to the ground, sort of, so air to air, air to ground. Akin to a like scramble-ish sort of mentality. And you've got a number of missiles. So they're not unlimited. You've got a number of missiles, and you've got a certain amount of fuel. And you've got to replenish those by these various platforms that are dotted around the landscape. But you can blow those platforms up if you're not careful. So you've got to be a bit careful about how you shoot. You can't just go on some shoot crazy and shoot everything, because you're going to end up damaging the very things that you need to replenish the stocks of your missiles and stocks of your fuel. So as much as this is obviously it's a 1984 game, and it shows a bit in the visual, so it's a defender / choplifter / side-scrolling shoot-'em-up type logic. And there's some nice details in this. Now, eliding the fact that it's got 1984 visuals, okay, they are what they are. This isn't some fancy, they haven't tried to do lots of fancy, complicated base relief or anything that makes it look anything other than just little sprites flying about. And I like that, because I like it for that. So it's got a nice 1984 sort of style and look. Now, there's still little nice touches to the animations on some of the helicopters and your little jump jets. It looks like a little jump jet, and the ground is still the ground, and the basics are all still there. And there's some nice details in this. It's got a catchy little tune, and the game plays fine. I think it does look dated. I think that's the only thing I would say that's to its detriment, is it just looks a bit old, bit tired and old now. But at its heart, there's a really good shooter in here. There's some really nice touches. I like the fact that you get these radar jammers, and you get different types of helicopters, so it doesn't just become a arbitrary, meaningless shoot everything. There's some thought behind the enemy types in this, and the way they fly in and follow you around and stuff like that. It's visually outclassed and outgunned and it will rapidly become so. But we haven't had a lot of really good side scrollers. Now, we've had plenty of these top-down sort of shoot-'em-up type ones, the shmups from bottom to top. Now, the Light Forces and Xeviouses and some of the lesser ones. So these side-scrolling ones, we've had Sanction and a couple of others that sort of lend themselves to that territory, and there's more to come, I know. But I actually really quite like this. This is the second time an older game released at budget has really surprised me, because Park Patrol did it last time. And this has done the same thing. I didn't think I would like it, and I didn't think going into it, my initial thought was like, oh, this is going to be naff. But I actually really enjoyed playing it. I think because it's simple. I think there's something about it that's just, once you know the premise, they haven't dressed this up in a ridiculous amount of story and all of those things. It harks back to a simpler time when you didn't get an 80-page novella try and market and bullshit the way through something that's naff. This is just what it is. And at a budget price, this is actually a pretty good game. A nice, inventive in some ways, shoot 'em up that I think in some ways leaves some of the shoot-'em-ups we had recently, the more modern ones, a little bit in the dust, because it's got some nice little details in it. And at budget price, it's all right. Not the greatest game in the world by far. It's not going to blow your socks off. Got 63% in Zap. It's about right. But for $2.99, this is a perfect Sunday afternoon game, without a doubt. What about you?
Yeah. Pilot Harrier Jump Jet, and it's a Defender clone when we come down to it. I'll come back to something in a moment, sort of thing, but we'll just talk about the game itself. Yeah, for £3, it's okay. Even if it's a couple of years old, I think it's quite nice. It plays very well.
Yeah.
And it really would. Yeah, I put it past some time on a Sunday afternoon by our own criteria. My main beef would have been, most of that time, would have been watching the bloody plane refuel, though.
Oh, it just take a while.
And not just refueling during game, but why you had to refuel every time you restarted.
Yeah, there is that.
Which annoyed me. And from a detailed point of view, that it got to 100 before your actual bar filled up. That annoyed me. That I know I'm being pernickety, but hey ho. I don't know why they felt the need to start you with no fuel and make you sit through boring refueling.
They did that a lot of that back in those early arcade games. A lot of those, they had a little start bit, didn't they?
Yeah, it reminded me of that other one, that stupid one where you were on the bike jumping, and every time you died, you had to rebuild the bike or something.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, a lot of those early arcades have that little, even Green Beret has that
but don't do it every time you die.
No, but you still get that.
Yeah, I don't mind.
You still get that kind of. There's a few of them that did it.
I don't mind that, but this was just too long.
Yeah, just a bit too long.
For my liking. I was not a particular fan of the setting. The place looked already blown up to all hell, and not sure I'm really on board with just bombing Middle Eastern countries.
Well, it's a version of the Middle East. I don't know if it ever says it's explicitly there.
It's clearly a Middle Eastern country. It's sand and what have you.
Somewhere where there's war in the middle there. It's desert-y war, yeah.
And I'm thinking, that place already looks blown up to hell. Why am I raining hellfire down them even more?
Yeah.
And so I guess it's just a product of its time, isn't it? It's what we said about LA SWAT.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. It's okay to bomb the Middle East.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay. It's passable. I would still go play Drop Zone.
Yeah.
If I'm going to play this kind of game, it feels more in line with Drop Zone. I'm not sure about Sanction, because Section is just a left to right. This is Drop Zone Defender.
I just meant more in its side-scrolling nature. We haven't seen a lot of them.
No, I mean, there's that other one, Rascal.
Yeah, so I say there's not many. Maybe that's 2 or 3.
We'll get another one at the start of next episode.
Yeah,
but for £3, and I think this 63% is bang on.
Yeah.
It's just another one of those where you're just looking at it through modern eyes, as we have done with many games. But it's a bit okay. From a gameplay perspective, it's fine, and there are, like you said, some nice elements to it. The radar track jammers and things like that, and the fact you can blow your own refueling landings things up if you're not careful. That's all very good, and it plays quite well, and it's smooth, and the scrolling's good, and the sprites are nice and easily readable. Yeah, I think Choplifter was another good call. It does look a bit like Choplifter, which we reviewed. Oh, that was the very, 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 very first game we spoke about, wasn't it? Choplifter.
It was
back over a year ago, and so this harks back to that kind of thing. So yeah, if I think if you'd have picked this up for £3, you'd have been happy to blast away on this for a Sunday afternoon. But yeah, it's a decent budget title. I've got nothing more to say about it. It's not. I don't think it's in the same ballpark as Park Patrol, which I think is a much better game.
Yeah, it is. But I think it's just in that kind of re-release of a budget game that surprised me how good it was. I thought it was going to be absolutely awful, and it was better than I thought.
Yeah, and I think you bang on with that. I think that's all right. I just it's another one where you look at it now and you just okay.
It shows its age now badly, but
yeah, it shows its age, and it's sort of where it's coming from a political point of view.
It's in that cauldron, and it needs to stay there really.
Yes, exactly. But there you go. Yeah, it's all right. I think for what it was then, yeah, you'd have been happily shooting stuff away on a Sunday afternoon.
Right.
There you go. I think that's it, isn't it?
It is.
That is it. There you go. So we've had a boatload of games and lots of music. What have we done? So we've looked at Mutants, which we liked, even if it was a bit frustrating in places. Star Soldier, which we found weird Monetary Commando. Bubbly Future Night. The incredibly slow Double. We plumbed the colon with Tracker. We got weirded out by pneumatic hammers. We liked some of the ideas in Ray 2000. Tomahawk is slow vectors, and Falcon Patrol is questionable military shooting, but it's all right, I guess, for £3. So there you go. That's it. That's it for this episode. We've not any crap words. We'll be carrying on with March. Another load of games from March next week. What do we need to say before we leave you? If you haven't already and you would like to support us, you can do that by signing up to our Patreon if you want. We're getting a small but growing community.
We have.
Which is, we're having a bit of a laugh on Discord, and there'll be, stuff going on, and there's extra stuff on there. There's, at the moment, recording this, there's a couple of extra interviews, one with John Hare and one with Chris Abbott, which you can listen to. There's stuff like that. So we're doing things where you can come over and have a chat and also help us keep the lights on and support the podcast just for the price of a pint, if you're not in London, as we like to say. So just head on over to patreon.com/Zapped to the Past, and you'll find us and help us out if you wish to. Obviously, you're under no obligation to. So there's that. You also get access to these podcasts earlier. You do. Because we are releasing them earlier through the Patreon. So if you wish to listen to us earlier than on the Monday, then come and sign up. If you want to listen to us over the weekend, do so.
Bit of exclusivity never hurt anybody.
Absolutely, it really didn't. What we got coming up next week? Next week we've got about another, 9 games, I think. So what we're looking at next week, we've got Erebus, Ollie and Lissa, Terror of the Deep, Peter Shilton's Handball Maradona, oh, Jesus, Agent Orange. We've got Nosferatu the Vampire, Dandy, Skate Rock, Labyrinth, Return of the Bowie Bulge, and Terry Cognita. You know him. You know Terry Cognita.
Terry Cognita.
Terry and Gnita. Terra Cognita. That's coming up next week. So that's the middle section for March 1987. So lots to look forward to there. I think that's about it. Are we done? Is that it?
We are done. No, that's it.
We are done. So as ever, I have been Adrian Mills.
And I have been Graham Raddings.
And you have been listening to Zapped to the Past. And we will see you again next week. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZapTother, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zapped to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zapped to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings, and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zapped to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.